Music genres. WNB1 Radio. Your urban music link. Hey, 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 welcome to WNB1 Radio, and this is Straight to the Point Sports Talk. I'm Charlie Perry, along with Steve Lopes, Derek Consatio, and our guest, Dwayne Pina. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
Hey, what's up, New Bedford?
Doing our thing, man. Doing our thing. Dwayne, welcome on board. Glad to see you here, as always. Good dude. I remember you as a great kid, and I'm just glad to see you here, talk your talk, share your stories. This is going to be a good show. And without even getting into it, I know it is because you have some fascinating stories, and I can't wait to hear them.
I appreciate you all having me here today, and look forward to kind of just chopping it up.
Good, good, good. Steve, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Glad you finally came to me, but no. But we got Dwayne on the show today. We want to talk about his profound career as a player first at New Bedford High School, and then what led him into coaching and to where he is now at his position at St. George Academy. And he's got some other things on the horizon that he's going to share with us. But we'd like to hear his story about his high school career at New Bedford High and the team he had then, and how he went on to play later on at Boston College.
Well, yeah, I mean, just to kind of get right to it, I'm born and raised in New Bedford, grew up in the West End. So, growing up, I always, looked up to the varsity athletes, at New Bedford High School. I spent every single day of my childhood in and around the Boys and Girls Club. So as I kind of progressed through, the middle school stages and was looking towards the high school level, I grew up watching, Lyle Silva, JJ Wedge, watching those guys and, idolizing those guys and, wanting to one day, be on that stage.
Yeah, something about that red and white jersey, that red and white coat, growing up, you see that just inspires you as a young kid. I want to wear one too. I want my name on the jacket. I want that varsity letter. So I think the impression of that the school, the jacket, the players before you is very inspirational. At least it was for me, and I think you pretty much said the same thing.
And growing up, I think that was all our aspirations. We all were Boys Club kids. Mm-hmm. So we all played against each other at the Boys Club. But then when you got to middle school, like Dwayne was saying, there was Keith, Normandin, and Roosevelt all separate. When you got to the high school, all their best players merged. And it was a privilege to play for New Bedford High. If you made that team, you were doing something. Because I remember every year, dudes that got cut that were killing at the Boys Club and other leagues, but for whatever reason, they weren't cut out for the high school ball. They didn't play team ball, or there was a lot of other talent at their position. So I think a lot of us aspired, and I was looking forward to it. But unfortunately, my parents were like, nope, you're going in a different direction. So I ended up playing somewhere else. But I was very close with everybody at New Bedford High, and the talent that's come through there over the years has been incredible. We have everything but height.
It's been forever. It's been forever.
Yeah, it just seems every time I run into people, they say, y'all got some great athletes. They just don't grow past 6'2", 6'3". Mm-hmm. Like, that's a big guy for us. Trey Lewis, Bobby Duat, they were big guys. Then in college, Bobby Duat was guiding me. And I was like, what the hell? He was the center. I'm a shooting guard. How the hell is he guiding me? But he was quick enough, to do stuff like that. But
there was always there was the team that made it. And then there was always this B team that didn't make it.
That would have been a whole nother good team. Yeah. They would have probably been the second best team in the area if they were able to field their own team. They would have beat every other team around.
True.
But they just weren't going to make it. Some didn't have the grades. Mm-hmm. Some couldn't stay out of trouble. But there was some that had it, but the talent was just too good.
Yeah. And I also think you're going back to a time where there was 3,600 students in the high school.
Yeah.
And like you said, everybody, from Normandin, Keith and Roosevelt merged there. There weren't as many options as there are.
And don't forget about Ford. Ford went to New Bedford High too.
Yeah, Ford too. But I keep forgetting that Acushnet goes there.
There's a lot of good basketball players out
I'd be thinking they go to Fairhaven, but they have the option, I think.
Yeah.
Acushnet was New Bedford High.
Oh, okay.
Like, they couldn't go to vote because they had to go to Old
Right,
Colony.
right.
But
Yeah.
Acushnet was New Bedford High.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought they had the right to go to New Bedford High or Fairhaven because they were both so close.
Yeah, they actually
'Cause we had kids
There
from
was a couple
Acushnet
of
at Holy
years
Family,
Ford-
so
Ford won the middle school championship.
well, they
couple
had
of
some
years
good
ago. It
players.
was,
They just didn't have
yeah.
as many as New Bedford.
Well, there wasn't a big school.
Yeah,
either.
New Bedford was the second biggest population to Brockton. All my years growing up, all the way through high school, and then like Dwayne mentioned,
My year, we
the
were bigger than Brockton.
vocationals and in the prep schools and the and who else the private schools. It was the Stangs and the vocational schools, and then the prep schools. Like back then, I only remember Tabor, and I didn't hear much about them. Now there's Tabor, St. George, St. Andrews. They're all players in the market for the same pool of talent that we're looking for.
The landscape's definitely different now.
But who was on the team that you played on? Because I was in Connecticut.
Wait,
I
let
remember
me-
some
let
of the
me-
players.
Let me see if I can guess this real quick. It might not be just your senior year. It might be your senior and junior year. Let me see if there was Marky DeBrito,
Yep.
Dwayne, Christian.
Yep.
Which Christian?
Christian
Stevens.
Stevens.
Oh, he was good.
Tristan Stevens.
He might have been their big
Isaiah?
man.
Isaiah was
a freshman,
maybe a sophomore.
sophomore. Isaiah. Did you play with Dante? Did Dante play with you one
No,
year?
no, I
Nope.
missed that.
Dante was.
You need some help, a little assistance.
Yeah, of
here?
course. That was
Yeah.
Sam Mackay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the big man.
Marcus Holtman. Marcus Holtman. That was your
Never
junior
saw
year.
a shot you didn't like.
Yeah, he's still that way.
Yeah.
John Fernandez.
John Fernandez. Yes.
Dwight Majetti.
Okay.
Mike Reniche.
Yes,
I
I
don't
remember
remember
Mike.
that.
Mike Reniche, yeah.
Remember
Brother
Dwight?
used to DJ at Hot Wheels, I think.
Scott. His brother
Yeah,
Scott. He was a DJ on Fun 107 as well.
Yeah.
Like wow, I remember having these guys at Keith at a Butch Firmino. He used to do the basketball clinics every Saturday. These guys would come and I just like none of the Balistracis. The Balistracis were too young for you, correct?
Yeah.
All right, but I just remember them. I remember them days.
The common era boy Bobby Duwatt was that dude, of course. Buddy Wheatley.
I
It
worked
says
with Buddy.
Sean
Sean
Bedoin.
Sean Baldwin, yeah.
Yeah, he
Bedoin.
was Bedoin.
No, it's
yeah.
Baldwin. They always say Bedoin, but I grew up with him. We grew up, he always say, everybody says my name wrong. I stopped correcting it, but it was Sean Baldwin.
Yeah.
But they always called it Bedoin.
We had 2 winners.
WMB1 Radio. Straight to the point. What's up?
Can't
How
tell
you
who
doing?
that Facebook comment came from. They must not be logged in.
How you doing? You want to? Hold on. We're going to put you on the air.
Uh-oh. We got enough slack.
Don't go
Live
down.
calling.
Who we got? Oh my God! No, that's the one. Oh, you need the.
Give me the other one.
This one?
No.
He needs the iPhone one.
This one? Oh. I ain't got no life.
Yeah, Margarita.
There you go. CEO.
You got some crazy questions at you.
What's up, caller?
You are on the air.
All right. How you guys doing tonight?
MG in the
We're
house.
doing.
All
We're
good.
doing.
What's up? I see you got my sweetie pie Dwayne on.
Oh,
Yeah.
Rita, how
boy.
are you?
Hey,
This is not the flirting part of the show. We don't have no wine.
This is not the wind down. This is not the wind down. We got to keep
I
it
got to
PG.
get over to the Wind Down podcast, too.
Yeah.
I know. We got to get you on the wind down. But listen, I had a question because we've had some people on our podcast and also on Straight to the Point to talk about their experience in sports and how it really shaped them into who they are as an adult. And I'm curious to know your experience with New Bedford High Athletics and how it really helped mold you, or if it did help mold you into, the human that you became,
Well, 1,000%. Athletics is a major part of my identity, right? Like, I am not who I am today without athletics, without the camaraderie, without the friendships, without the competitive nature, without the business aspect. That's sort of how, I make a living now is sort of, primarily through sports, but undoubtedly, from, playing baseball at Clegg Field as being a bat boy, even going back before that as a 6 and 7-year-old from my brother Corey, to playing football down the South End. Charlie here was my coach. Through playing pickup basketball at the Boys and Girls Club, playing wiffle ball at the Boys and Girls Club. Occasionally hitting a heavy bag in the back room with Mr. V. All those experiences, and it's one of the amazing parts I think about that entire experience is it starts so harmless, right? It starts it's so organic, right? You're just outside playing with your friends, and just through that experience of playing with my friends, it got me a full athletic scholarship, and it's sort of been my career now. So as a 45-year-old now, Black male, all those things are part of my identifiers and my identity, and no doubt about it, sports have been a major part of that.
True.
Yeah, we find that that's mostly everybody, when we ask that question, they say yes, it has. The other thing that I'm curious about, and we had a lengthy discussion the last time we were on the wind down about, is what's your stance on the age that young men can be drafted into the NBA?
My stance is if you're good enough, you should be able to go.
And mature enough, I'm finding.
Yeah, and I do
Morant.
think it's a big responsibility when you're at that high of a level, in terms of finances. But I don't see why, the NCAA is a business. They're a monopoly, and they're doing everything that they can with these rules, in all these sports. No one ever puts a sort of an age quota if you want to be an author or if you want to be a professional pianist. So why does this exist within athletics?
I don't mean to cut you off, but there's no age limit in golf or tennis. You know what I mean?
Go fight for your country.
There's no age limit for
as
that.
You graduate high school.
Them people make just as much money.
I agree with that part. The part I wish is they need more of a breeding area where the players, like I saw some of it in football, basketball, I don't think's done it yet, where the veterans come in and counsel the kids when they get drafted and tell them what to expect, how to act as an NBA player.
They have that in the
They do it
in the combine.
Yeah,
class.
because we're still seeing younger players even before they get to the NBA. Even Brandon Miller, who's projected to be the number 2 pick tonight, indirectly was involved with a major case. And John Morant's only in his 3rd or 4th year. He's having maturity. There's a lot of maturity issues at 18 that you can't go from 18-year-old poor kid to instant millionaire and not change.
But your age should never prohibit you from making a living. And any
Oh, no, I'm just saying they need more of a support system so that they know how to make those adjustments.
I agree. And I do think they try to do it. It's funny. One of the guys I played with at BC, Troy Bell.
Oh,
you guys
was
remember
good.
the show Broke on ESPN?
Yes.
He was on the show, but he was one of the success stories.
Oh, I was going to say, damn.
No, he was one of the success stories on that show. And, he talks a little bit about, his background is why he was able to, make sound financial decisions. Michael Carter Williams is another name that comes to mind who doesn't spend any of his, NBA dollars. So, if you're going to blow it or not, I think the original question is should there be an age restriction? Yeah. And I say absolutely not.
I agree. I
think it's the colleges that are starting that. They're trying.
Can I go on record saying that you said that? Because I know the conversation's going to come up again on the wind down because we're not done with this John Morant stuff.
It's on film right now. There's nothing you can deny it.
Yeah. He's not pleading the 5th,
Yeah, you just made him all sweaty and stuff. You got nervous.
Yeah, we were more concerned with the maturity level on where they're at and whether they could actually handle it. You know what I mean? And I won't keep you guys for too long, but I will say this: what I said last time we were talking about this is science has proven now that the human brain is not mature enough to really grasp all social aspects until that human brain is of the age of either 26 or 27.
Well, we can't wait that long. That's halfway through their career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So that's why I asked the question on that. So is it, and I hear, well, nobody for a pianist. I don't know a pianist that gets $1 million deals. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you're talking about.
I mean, specifically when they're an overnight millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's going to happen tonight.
Heavier restrictions, but.
Well, we got a whole new wave of kids that are going to become professionals tonight with the draft at 8:00. They're going to go from zero to hero.
That's why I wanted to ask the question.
But you see it on the tennis court and on the golf course.
You see 14-year-old girls in tennis.
I think it should be across. I don't think it's just. I said this before. I said professional sports in general.
Mm-hmm.
But there's.
I said that in general. It wasn't just that. But I'm gonna let y'all go.
All right.
But before you go, I just want to say this.
Coming down to the station and being a guest. Awesome. I love to see you
Appreciate them having me.
Absolutely. Good call as always.
All right, MG. Thanks for checking in. So that team that we were talking about that you had, how successful was that team? Because I think I was in Connecticut then, so I wasn't following day to day.
Yeah, so my freshman year, I played freshman basketball. Sophomore year, I was on the JV team, but was one of 3 or 4 of us that get moved up for the tournament. And that year, we won a state championship. I was on the bench cheering, but what an experience, that was. And that was the second half of the back-to-back. So then we get to my junior year. And, Marcus is a senior, JoJo, Rudy, all those guys are seniors that year, my junior year. And that's when I sort of first, began to impact some games, was as a junior. And, we had our eyes set on a third state championship. I don't remember specifically, what our record was my junior year, but I do remember we ran into a buzzsaw against Brockton. I think that game was at Durfee or Taunton.
Taunton.
Was that Taunton?
Yep.
And
they always got good teams.
They played really well, and they beat us, and that was sort of the end of that. And then my senior year was kind of like,
I was mad. I was pissed off.
Yeah,
I was angry.
That was a tough one.
That was a tough one.
But again, hats off. I forget the dude from Brockton's name.
It wasn't
Burke.
It wasn't Brockton that your senior year.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm talking about my junior year that we lost to
Brockton.
The kid had like 40 that game. But going into my senior year it was a brand new team, right? Like that old guard of, that got passed from, Dwayne Ramus and that crew to Marcus, it was now gone. And it was finally like me and my core friends' time. And I don't think there were high expectations. The team to beat at the time was South Boston with, they had
Dwayne Pena. Not Dwayne Pena.
Jonathan DePina,
Monty
Mack.
Mack.
Oh, they were the backcourt in high school?
Rogers, yeah.
I remember them both individually. I didn't know they
big
played.
boy, Mr. Rogers. That boy can shoot.
That
boy can shoot.
I definitely remember Jonathan at Northeastern, and Monty Mack was a Boston legend even after high school.
Yeah. So that was, they were the team to beat at that time. And I think that their core guys might have been a year or so younger than I was. I think we had a pretty good year. We probably won, 15 games, maybe like 15-4 or something.
And by then, you were playing everybody. Your schedule had really ramped up.
Played Hill House. We beat Hill House.
Yeah, Connecticut. Yeah, they were always a powerhouse.
A team from D.C. at the Rogers tournament. So I don't think there were high expectations for us, but like we just, we were, ignorance is bliss, at that age. And, we just felt like we can win. And, we beat Newton South at the buzzer at Brockton.
Yeah.
And then we went on to play in the South Sectionals the game before the final. So the semifinals against Brighton. Oh, Brookline. Against Brookline.
And now
gets me. We lost pretty much at the buzzer. We did get a shot, but we were up by 1 with 10, 15 seconds. They drive the ball. We foul them. 2 shots. I think he missed the first or made the first. I don't remember. But the second free throw, we just, we weren't ready, and rebound 50-50 ball, and our guy tips it back into the hoop.
Your own guy tipped it in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So he walked
I mean,
home,
we
right?
win that game. We play South Boston.
Don't want to mention any names, but it's
Somebody we know?
He's still dear to my heart. I love him to death.
Hmm.
Who was it? Was it Stevens or Renish?
Mr. DeBrittle.
It was DeBritto.
Yes.
Not the current football coach.
I'm
it
telling
was
you.
DeBritto.
I'm telling you.
It might have been Renish.
A lot of people don't remember how good of an athlete Maki was. It wasn't just
he
football.
was.
He was good at basketball and
baseball,
anything.
and baseball.
Yeah.
I mean,
But everything he did, he was a good athlete too. But everybody just seems to gravitate toward his football career. But I've seen him do some damage on the basketball.
But now that we bring up baseball, these guys didn't know. that
Yeah, he
Mr.
put
that
me
Mr.
onto this.
And Mr. Dwayne Pino was an excellent second baseman, shortstop.
yeah.
How long ago was that? Was that high school?
He played 1 year in high school,
I
correct?
played 2 years.
2
So
years,
I
I'm
went
sorry.
my baseball. So again, just growing up, that's what we did,
Mhm.
And it's funny now. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. Like, actually, it was Rudy at Father's Day cookout. Like all the skill development they have for all sports, right? Like I follow this guy on Instagram, and he's a great coach, and he just teaches like just different techniques, like with your hands and how to turn, and it's fascinating now because I think back when when I played baseball, and you too, it was just you just did it.
Get out there and play.
We
You
weren't.
just got the basics.
I was never coached. Like
Nope.
I just
Went out there,
Natural
played.
raw ability.
yeah, you go play shortstop.
yeah.
Field the ball, throw it to first base.
Yeah.
Stay in front of it.
And
Hit it.
in the neighborhoods, you played the sport that was in season.
We all
Right.
did that.
Play
Whatever
baseball,
season it
you-
was our
you
favorite
just-
sport.
Wherever it was.
Then we got the high school, and you kind of weeded
Yeah.
them out.
Mhm. But I know he was a good baseball player.
I think you
I just
mentioned him as a
forgot about
football player.
But a football player,
Derek
My-
mentioned baseball. I didn't even know about that.
my
Uh-oh.
anticipation
Foo-foo.
for him as a running back for New Bedford High School was pretty high. I always thought that Dwayne would be one of the best running backs that got at the high school. And then you switched it up, and then you didn't play. Just
Did
the
basketball
style,
become a focus then? Or?
I just think that, yeah, you at some point in your life, you just said, I'm going to play ball. But I truly believe that as a running back, you were that dude to me that was going to, whoever was there at the high school at the same time as you, I think they're very lucky that you wasn't playing football because they may have been on the bench.
You mean his senior year?
Yeah, because his junior year, JoJo was there.
Yeah.
He got the
Oh,
career
Joe-
record.
I'm not saying he wouldn't have.
No.
I'm not saying he wouldn't have.
But that's
that
how it
would've
was
been
in most sports
that
back
would
then.
have been
You
a tough
played your
slip of the
senior
foot-
year,
Put your foot in.
and that was it.
That was a tough slip. That was a
Yeah,
tough slip to
every
put your
sport,
foot in.
you were lucky to play before your senior year, like play significantly, because there was always talent in every sport.
I mean, and that at some point, I mean, at a young age, him and JoJo were teammates,
Yeah.
So they,
Henry.
you had a good option, a 1-2 punch. If you gave Dwayne the ball, he was going to do some magical things. JoJo, the same thing. There was no doubt in my mind, and I'm just saying that I anticipated you
Yeah.
being a great football player.
And that's one of my regrets is not pursuing football or baseball. Like in hindsight now, like you want to make money,
Mhm.
basketball ain't the way to go.
Yeah.
Football might not be the way to go.
Baseball.
Baseball
Because of the
is
minor league
true.
system, get paid all the way through.
Is the way. And I think what happened to me is like when I was just getting out of middle school. So what's that? 13.
12, 13.
Like I didn't grow, right?
Mhm.
So like I'm looking at like nothing but respect and admiration for the guy Fufu, JoJo, Nate Montero, Sharik, all those guys that were before me. Like I physically, maybe it was a lack of confidence, but I didn't feel ready, right? Like
Mhm.
when I went from Bronco League and baseball to Pony League, the field outgrew me, right? So
yeah.
like the field was too big for me.
Mhm.
And it was like I just wasn't ready. So then I spent, I didn't play football as a freshman. I mean, I didn't play football. Actually, I might even played midget football as a 9th grader, like in Pop Warner.
Mhm.
But I didn't play football 10th grade. Finally, I didn't play baseball in 10th grade. Finally, in 11th grade, everyone was like, "Hey, come play," and I didn't play baseball in 5 years. and I ended up playing baseball my, I think, junior and senior year. But I got focused on basketball. I don't know how that happened, but I just, I wanted to go to North Carolina. I wanted to go to Duke. Again, ignorance is bliss. Not much guidance through the college process, and it worked out for me.
See, your boy Fufu's on there saying some nice things about you that he believes you could have been good and led it in any sport.
Appreciate
you were
that,
just
Foo.
that type of athlete.
That means, that's
Fufu, you keeping your eyes on the road too? I know you might be driving through like South Carolina right now. But
boy.
when you were playing, I don't know if that started yet, but now kids got like development, like what Brian's doing and training. Like we didn't have that back then. You just played your behind off every day. I was the same way with you guys. So nobody had even started that. Do you think that would have been a game changer if we had people doing that back then, where you could work on your skills to get better outside of just learning on your own? Weightlifting, like I don't remember weightlifting in high school. When I got to college, we started weightlifting.
To take it even a step further, like being a shooter back then wasn't cool. Like everybody wanted to be the athlete.
Oh God,
it's gonna be Fool, I think.
Nathan Victor.
Everybody wanted to be the athlete. So like being the shooter, that the game's changed, and there's a whole new dynamic now, and I have mixed feelings about the amount of skill development that happens now versus just playing.
Because they're not emphasizing.
I do wish that I had more of that. And hindsight's 2020.
It was cool to be a shooter. Then it was cool to be a dunker. Now it's cool to be a 3-point shooter. Even the centers want to shoot threes. Is he at work? Is he at work right now?
You're on the air,
What's
brother.
up, caller?
What's going on, man? You got two options, man. I can talk about Dwayne Pena or the Knicks.
We don't want to talk about the
Dwayne
Knicks.
Pena.
Time up. I'm going to talk about Dwayne. Talk about that.
What's good, brother?
I remember Dwayne with the boys club being a midget. You were like me, Dwayne. You did not grow. What year did you grow?
I mean, when I went to, I probably got to 5'10" like between my junior and senior year, but I was 155, 160 pounds.
I remember that. Dwayne, I didn't grow until I was 22.
Yeah.
I graduated high school 5'8.5".
That was like a Tony DePina story.
Being 6'2".
Yeah.
You like 6'3" now, no?
Yeah, almost. And what's that mean? Nothing.
Yeah.
Don't mean nothing. Mother didn't let me play sports in high school, so it doesn't mean anything. I went to CY and went to Haywoods. That's what we did. I remember you playing baseball too. I remember that too.
Yeah, we were just touching on that.
Yeah. I got check this.
I was like, yo, you can play some baseball.
I got a random text message on Facebook probably about a month ago from this guy who was out in Pittsburgh, who when we were in the 12-year-old All-Star team, we had a chance to go to California. I had never been on a plane, so all we had to do was beat this team from like Williamsport, Pennsylvania, one game, and they had to beat us twice. They ended up beating us twice. This kid ended up being best friends with a guy, Vonteego Cummings, who played basketball at Pitt.
Yep.
And he just randomly hit me. He randomly hit me up one day. He was like, "Hey, this is gonna be a strange question, but did you by any chance happen to be on the SCYA baseball team back in 1991?" Mm-hmm. And he was like, I was on the team that beat you guys to go to California. And it was just like the beauty of social media.
Yo, did you throw him a middle finger?
So you were the same age. So did you ever come across him in basketball too? Because that was the same conference in college.
This is
not
baseball.
This guy.
This is
Montego Cummings.
This is baseball.
Montego Cummings, I played against him.
I thought Montego played baseball too.
Nah, it was his friend.
Montego is couple years older than me, but this kid who hit me up was friends with Montego Cummings. Just the fact that he remembered that game during that time was bizarre.
And to see you, I mean, we're
in another sport.
Yeah, just to see you and say, that's the same kid. Well, to remember your name, your first and last name, to say, hey, I remember that kid. So, I mean, that's a little.
What was that, Nate? You said you got another question?
I got one a little crazier for you than that, Dwayne. I used to do work for NBA TV when NBA TV launched. I helped launch the channel.
Yeah.
And I believe you might have been in England at the time. Were you in England playing ball at that time?
No, I had gone over to Cape Verde for a little bit, but
it was one of the two because we had an international ticker that went at the bottom.
Okay.
And the name came across the bottom. and it said something, and it bothered me, and it was regarding health. So I didn't have your number. I called Medina immediately. I said, yo, shiz, man, blah, 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 blah. This is what's on the phone. He's like, listen, don't say anything. How did you find that out? I said, listen, I work for the NBA, dog. I'm like, there's nothing hidden. I'm like, everything's there. He was like, oh, okay, you can't say anything. I said, dog, I'm not going to say anything, but I said, I'm happy his name came across the damn ticker. Ain't nobody from New Bedford's name come across the New Bedford NBA ticker before. Nobody.
Yeah, and that's yeah. I mean, and I know, hopefully you're doing well, with your.
Oh, I'm great. I just finished working out.
Awesome.
Nice,
And,
man. Nice.
I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah.
Viral?
Yep.
Was yours viral?
It was
Yeah,
viral.
me too. That's
Yep.
what started my whole journey.
So they said at the time my heart's pumping capacity had diminished to about 11%.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
and at that time in my life, because I was playing at BC, I should have been around like between 60 and 70. I was just having chest pains one night, and it just wouldn't go away. It felt like I swallowed like a piece of steak, and it was stuck in the middle of my chest. And I just was like, I ended up going into the emergency room. I don't know, like 2 a.m. They saw me. It took like another hour and a half. No one came back. I had all the EKG stickers on me, and I was like, I'm out of here. I took them all off. I left. And my mom is an EKG technician.
I did that too.
And
I did that too.
they called my mom and was like, I need to go back. They thought I was having, my EKG reflected that of someone having a heart attack. And then it was just chaotic from there. Another crazy story about that is Dr. Kaplan, I'm sure y'all know Bill Kaplan, was my cardiologist. And probably about 3 years ago, I randomly saw him, and I was like, man, you ended my college playing career. And that year I couldn't play. We went 27-5. They won the Big East tournament. And he was like, well, you know what, Dwayne? If that were to happen today, we probably would have cleared you to play.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Oh, thanks, Bill. Like,
Hey, are you sure that's the reason why you stopped? Because I thought, if I refresh my memory if I'm wrong, but I thought you stopped playing because Jason Hott kicked your ass on the floor.
No, Syracuse kicked that. Syracuse kicked our ass.
This is a personal between me and him.
Yeah.
I give him.
I almost
give
give
him that
hands with
shit.
him.
Yeah.
With who?
Jason Hott.
Jason Hott?
Yeah. Nah, he one day gave me a lot of respect though. We were playing in the Carrier Dome, and they were
That must be
pounding
crazy,
us.
that
They were
atmosphere.
pounding us, and he was like, yo, like, Matt, you're quick. You got good IQ, good feel, yo. Like, be more assertive. And I was like, at that time, at that level, I was initially a little in awe, but felt like I belonged. But then just to hear
Somebody that's on that level doing
yeah.
his thing.
Yeah.
But how did that even come about? Were you getting recruited by other schools, and was BC in the mix, or how'd you end up over there? And who else were you considering?
So I back then AAU wasn't just
Right.
wasn't
Another
the
thing.
norm.
No training, no AAU.
And the ABC existed, and at the time, Jonathan DePina, Monty Mack, all those guys were on that team, and they were flying all across the country. And just through the newspapers, I'm looking at their recruitment, and I'm like, damn, like, I know I can play at that level. I was confident in my abilities. My recruitment at the time was, I had Assumption, Stonehill, Bridgewater, UMass, Dartmouth. And again, I had no real guidance through the process. I got offered a scholarship through Stonehill and Assumption.
Okay.
And that's where I probably should have gone. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, and I go through this now, even with the players that I'm coaching on my team. And I tell them, if you have a dream, chase it. And, I told, my mom at the time, I was like, I'm going to BC and I'm going to play basketball. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that's what I'm going to do.
Now, I mean, I know a little family history. Did Keith DeFrancis have an influence for you going there because of his close relationship with your dad?
He was the sole reason I went there.
Okay.
Mm. The sole reason I went to Boston College.
Now, let me get this straight. When going to Boston College, you had a full ride. Was that
not right away?
No, I went through the financial aid process.
But so you got accepted for the academics.
Correct. Yep.
And then you was a walk-on for basketball.
So what happened was my freshman year, they were, and mind you, I known Scooney Penn at the time because
Mhm.
we scrimmaged them.
Salem.
Yeah. So he was there. Scooney Penn, Dwayne Woodward, Antonio Granger, Mickey Curley. I think Billy had already left. But
Both
that
the
year,
Curleys are good.
my freshman year, BC won the Big East tournament, the Big East championship. And I remember at the beginning of the year, I walked into the coach's office. I was like, "Hey, I'm interested in trying to walk on to the team." And he was like, we're not taking any. You can be a manager. I was like, fuck that. Like, I'm good with being a manager. So I ended up getting connected with this guy because then I was in the rec center just hooping, and I ended up getting connected with this guy, Brian Berry, who was best friends with the Hasselbeck. So Tim and Matt were both there. So
BC
the
guys.
team was the New England Revolutions because their dad was a big. I think he worked with Reebok, so we had all Reebok gear, and I played very well during the intramural season with that collection of guys. And then BC was going through their recruitment process that year, and their top recruits, it was Jonathan DePina, Bradley. He ended up going to Villanova. Elton Tyler, who went to Miami. Those three guys were all offered scholarships, but the admission denied them, wouldn't let them in, and they were all qualifiers. They by no means should they not have been accepted to BC. So then the whole thing just blew up. The coach left. Scooney Penn left with the coach. The recruits, Jonathan DePina ends up going to UMass. The big dude ended up going to Villanova. Elton Tyler ended up going to Miami. Then they hired Al Skinner, and they only had like 6 scholarship guys. So I knew my sophomore year, they have to. And like I knew I was going to be one of the better players that weren't on the team.
Yeah.
And that was sort of like, my journey. And I remember making the team. It was a tryout at midnight. And the next day was practice. I didn't get into no practice drills for like, I don't even know, maybe the first 2 weeks of the season. Like I'm cold. I'm freezing in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly I started getting into practices and building trust and just, playing safe basketball. And I think the first game I got in might have even been the Maui Invitational. It was the first time I got in. And right away we came back and we played Providence at the Dunk. I played like 15 minutes that game. And then by the end of my sophomore season, I started the last 8 games. And then it was just kind of.
I didn't even know those other guys started off at Boston College. I remember them at Northeastern and Miami, and I didn't even know they started at Boston College. Like Jonathan.
No, they didn't stop. They didn't get in.
No, they didn't go.
They didn't get in.
Yeah.
But Tyler, he said, all of them didn't get in.
They didn't get in.
But
Scooney Penn was there, he was saying. And
Yeah.
he left.
But before we go further, I always try to say it's a combination of things. Your basketball credentials.
Tag on the smet. Yo, me and Nate Montero used to kill y'all.
Oh, he doesn't want to hear that. He's going to pull over now and call. But basketball is one thing to be known for. But just the fact of getting into BC, we just heard the story of those who didn't. So obviously you were doing your thing in the classroom because you had no problem getting in and maintaining and doing well in the classroom. So the true definition of student athlete. Everybody I know that went to Boston College got a great education and ended up being very prepared for their life after college. So that's a very accredited school. So I congratulate you on your academic success as well as your basketball. So that probably helped you get further than the basketball. The basketball might have opened the door, but
yeah, absolutely. I do appreciate that. I think the biggest thing about the college experience though is it's not the academic, it's the social, the networking. Like that's where the true value, of that experience was for me.
So who was on the team with you when you got on the team your sophomore year? What was that lineup looking like at BC?
So that year it was Dwayne Woodward, who's now an assistant at URI. It was Antonio Granger, who probably played 15 years at the highest levels in Europe, as did Dwayne Woodward. It was Mickey Curley.
Remember him,
was on that
big
team.
man.
We had a kid, Kostas Maglos, who was 6'11", Greek kid, who was a monster. Same thing. He played a long time in Europe. Kenny Harley was a freshman that year. I'm trying to think who else.
Did Beer Bomb play with you?
Bear Bomb was
I remember that
I
name.
think Beer Bomb was a freshman that year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm just trying to think of the guys that you brought down to play at Monty's.
Yeah.
So now I'm
Luka,
thinking,
Agbai.
Yeah,
Wasn't there
Agbai.
yet.
No,
that
once
year,
you
though.
started, like, so you played against a lot of those guys that never got in because they played at other Big East schools. So you ran into them again somewhere down the line, or maybe played Northeastern
only
in
one
tournaments.
We played
Well, Pitt.
UMass, so that was
Um,
Monty Mack was there. Jonathan DePina
Yeah,
was at UMass.
that's right.
We
UMass,
played
not
Villanova. Yeah, we played Villanova.
Miami. They were in the
Miami,
Big
yeah,
East
yeah,
then.
Now-
so
Was Shannon Crooks your year? He was at St.
He was a
John's.
year younger than me.
Oh, okay.
Shannon Crooks went to UMass.
But he went to St. John's first.
No. He went right to UMass.
Shannon Crooks from Everett. Yeah.
Yeah. Right to
No.
UMass. No?
No, he went to St. John's first, and then it didn't work out there. Then he transferred
I
over
don't
with
think
Monty.
so.
I'm telling you.
All right.
All right, caller. I appreciate your call, man. Good as always. You there, Nate?
I think he hung up.
He's at work, so sometimes he has to like bounce when he gets called on the phone. So, what was the most intimidating place to play? Was it the Carrier Dome? Like when you all those big arenas, like were you in awe of anything, or once you got on the court, it was just basketball, or was it like the moment got big sometimes and you were like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing in this atmosphere? Because I look at the Carrier Dome as being like,
Yeah.
huge. Like that's like huge status.
Well, for me, I mean, just
Because
You know,
BC
I
was
used to-
small by standards of other
Yeah.
gyms, but
I used to get my aunt Tony Ann used to always buy us tickets for Christmas to go watch Providence Georgetown. So
okay.
I grew up going to
Ooh.
those games. It was what was it? Williams. What was that dude's name? Reggie Williams.
Reggie Williams.
Reggie
back in the
Williams.
day, yeah.
So I think
David
the first
Wingate.
time it hit me was when we were in Maui, because that tournament is like late November, and our first games start maybe I don't know, like November 17th.
Isn't Maui a small gym?
Very small. It's probably
Yeah, Chaminade. Is that the Chaminade tournament in
yeah,
Maui?
yeah, it's probably-
Chaminade's a Division II school.
smaller than half of New Bedford High. So like, yeah. So the bleachers pulled out on both sides. It probably holds 2,500.
Looking fool. Most
But we
intimidating
played-
place
we
was
played
playing
at-
at Westlawn.
We played Arizona that year, and that was the year they won the national championship the year before. So I think Gilbert Arenas, Jason Terry. I didn't get in that game though. We got pounded that game.
All right. Got
So-
a couple of your boys on the
Nah, who cares about
comment
that?
section.
Now,
Good, Manny.
here's a quick question. I know Steve wanted to ask it, but I'm going to ask this one. He could ask the other one. In high school, who was the toughest player you faced?
In high school?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I heard
Not-
you mentioned some good ones already.
We're not talking about in practice. I'm talking about other teams that you faced,
Yep, other schools.
because obviously
State
obviously
I
in
tournament.
remember
practice.
thinking my senior year was that South Boston team. All those guys could really go.
Yeah.
Monty Mack. Talked about Raj. Jonathan. We played Newton South also my senior year, and the kid Rob Robledo, I think his name was. He was a very good player. The kid Burke from Brockton was always very good.
Yeah.
Forget Hillhouse had a kid that was a stud at that time. And the year before when Marcus was on the team, Marcus and that kid battled at the Rogers tournament. I don't remember his name though. But those are just some of the names that I can recall at this moment.
How about point guard wise? Like, who are your toughest matchups personally that you were like, oh, I have to come to play today?
That was again Jonathan, the South.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought there'd be like 2 or 3 guys that you'd be like,
Boston and Burke from Brockton.
see, I'm trying to remember who that is because I wasn't in the area
His
then.
older brother Jamal Burke went to BC. His younger Jamal's younger than I think it was Trey Burke. No, not Trey Burke. Troy Burke. I don't remember.
Trey Burke was out of Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah.
How about once we got to the college ranks then?
People ask me that often, and on a consistent day-to-day basis, Troy Bell is
'Cause
the
he was
best
there with you.
basketball player I've ever been around, and I don't understand. I've heard some stories about why. Actually, from him, he didn't have that longevity in the NBA, but
Was it
I
his
mean,
build or his size?
no,
I thought he was a little small.
during his NBA draft combine, he was like collectively all the things they test you in, speed, agility, strength, jumping. He was the number one recruit, and all of that year's combine might have been 2000 and I don't know 3 or 4. But his ability to score the basketball, I mean, as a freshman,
he led the Big
he
East.
broke
Right?
Allen Iverson's scoring record as a freshman in the Big East. He scored like 2,500 points, and there was just nothing. Like, he wasn't tricky. He was just fast. He was explosive, and he's a guy that just put the endless work in the gym. I mean, he made 4 threes a game at 45%. So like, being around him on a daily basis and just seeing his ability to score the basketball was
He was an off
impressive.
guard, right?
Nah, he was a point.
He was a
Yeah,
point. I didn't know if he was
he was a
combo.
point.
How tall was he?
He's probably 6'2", maybe.
Okay?
Well, he's like long, he's wiry, he's athletic, and he was just
He made it look
fast.
easy too.
He was
He didn't
gifted.
look
He
like
was
he was
gifted.
moving, and
He was
all of a
gifted.
sudden he was open.
He was definitely
He
gifted.
averaged
Very
in high school, he
creative.
averaged 35 points a game, but like never scored over like 44 or something like that. Like, he just got you 35 every night. And then at his senior year at BC, he averaged like 25 a game.
He led the Big East in scoring.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he got Lawrence Moten's Big East scoring record.
I think he was like 100 points shy, but played like 11 less games because he tore his meniscus one year.
So every day in practice playing against that type of talent.
You know, I had to throw that Lawrence Moten in there.
Yeah, anything
Love
Syracuse.
poetry, emotion,
Yo,
that.
he gave you a quiet 30 every night. That dude was
He
smooth.
was special.
Very good.
Were there any college experiences, even outside of basketball, that stand out as part of the college experience, or were most of the memories on the court?
He can't tell you that.
No, I'm just saying
Yeah.
it could have been the expectation, the campus of BC, or I underestimated, this aspect of college. What was the academic grind like? Anything like that?
Now, the academic was what it was. I don't
A lot
remember.
faster paced than high school.
Yeah, I don't remember much about the academic, but all the experiences, like hanging out with the fellas, on campus, at other schools, but Boston's the mecca of higher ed, so you got BU, Northeastern,
Harvard.
MIT, and they all got students, and they all want to be college kids, and that's what we did.
Leslie's in Boston too, right?
Yeah, that's in, I think, like Newton, actually.
Okay, closer to you.
All these college kids want to college, so
Newton,
we
BC's
did
in
it.
Newton, correct?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so it's closer. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I just I'm glad you went to BC because that legacy of New Bedford people going to BC is tremendous. And you're right there with everyone, And I mentioned Keithy Francis and Bay Village kid, and such an influence on me. And I see that you're being an influence on younger kids that you're coaching. And there's something about that time, we had many things to follow, many people to follow, and kind of put us in the right mentorship, to kind of grab that torch and continue the legacy. And I think you have done that in all levels of your life. You're a good man, and I just want to let you know that being who you are and going to BC, sorry.
That's why you got
That's
downgraded.
It's a habit. Sorry. Always telling kids to go to BCC, just to try college first and then move up. Well, anyways, Boston College is a tremendous institution, and I'm glad you went there. But I'm real happy that you're a New Bedford kid that excelled on a lot of
Appreciate
levels.
Thank you for that.
All right, but before we start, tell us a little bit about St. George.
And what got you into coaching?
So my journey. So I got sick in 2000. So I knew basketball was pretty much over for me. I ended up getting cleared a couple years later. That's why I went to Cape Verde with the national team for that. But basketball, there wasn't a career path for me as a professional basketball player. Like, I wasn't good enough for that. So the next best thing was coaching. I originally came back from college and, I wanted to be the head coach at New Bedford High. That was what I
Oh, wow.
aspired to do. And I started teaching there. Obviously Coach Rogers was still there, and I think Tarpey was next in line. And I ended up getting a call from, so again, going back to the friendships, and Margarita asked us earlier, like, how is sports part of your identity? Mark DeBritto, who's one of my best friends, same thing. His college experience, he met this guy, Jack Perry, who had just gotten the head coaching job at Rick, Rhode Island College.
Yeah.
He was looking for an assistant. It was part-time. I think I made like $2,000, but I was flexible. I was teaching. I had the flexibility in my schedule to do that. So I did that. For a year. He ended up leaving, and he got the associate head coach at LIU Brooklyn. And then Bob Walsh, who is now an assistant at St. John's with Patino, got the Rick job. And then things started to kind of move from there. And funny story about like sort of my next jump was, so I'm entering my second year at Rick. Again, now at this time, I'm like, damn, I want to be the head coach at BC. Like that's what I'm gonna do.
Your alma mater, full circle.
Like, that was my goal. So the next thing, I'll never forget it. We had a game, Outcast flag football game on a Sunday, and we went out Saturday. I wake up Sunday, brain's a little foggy.
Was always late.
And Eddie Rodriguez calls me. He's like, hey, on Sunday, there's 3 or 4 Northeast 10 schools. It was St. Michael's, Bryant University, Stonehill, and one other school wanted to come in and watch Nick Ponce work out and Ryan Rodriguez. I was like, coach, I don't know. I got a flag football game. We hang out after. I don't know if I'm gonna make the workout. So we played the flag football game, and I'm sitting there, and again, usually crack the cooler, we hang out. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just head back. I'm gonna go work these guys out. So I went back. I worked out Ryan and Nick, and like 2 weeks later, I get a call. It's Max Good, the head coach at Bryant. I don't know if you know Max Good, but the
I don't
man
know.
is
I know who he
he's a
is.
legend in the basketball space. I mean, like a legend. And he's like, hey, I like what you did out there. My assistant, Brian Keefe, just left and took a job with the Spurs.
Wow.
Do you want the position?
From Bryant to the Spurs.
And I was like, count me in. So then I went from Rick making $2,000 to part-time at Bryant, which was like $15,000, but I was still teaching. And then the Bryant job turned into a full-time job. And then I ended up going from Bryant to Brown. And now I'm getting older. So now I'm at Bryant for 8 years. Then I'm at Brown for 4 years. So now it's 2016 and I'm 38 years old. And now my mindset on what the college basketball path begins to change. It's, it's not a merit-based business. There's so much luck involved to get to that highest level. You always got to move. Like, you never know. You could be in Wyoming one year and then in, the middle of Indiana the next. You just got to go with the flow. And a friend of mine, Lamont Reddix, again, Marky DeBritto's good friend from Bentley, used to tell me about was the athletic director at Milton. He would always say, like, I would never go back to college coaching because his job at Milton was a better job. And I didn't understand it. And he was like, there was a job at St. George's. Dwayne, you should go check it out.
Did you know anything about St. George's at
Nothing.
that time?
I had gone to St. George's one time. I was recruiting Denzel Brittle, and he had a football game there. I don't know if you ever been to St. George's campus, but it's
Hopefully we'll get an invite this year.
It's
Some
on
VIP
the ocean.
box.
So like,
it's not
when
bad.
I walked on the campus,
not
I was
bad.
like, damn, why would somebody not want to come
It's
here
not
and play
bad.
basketball?
It's like a college high school.
Wow.
A college high school.
So I thought, like, why would somebody not want to go to St. George's? And when I was at Brown, one of the difficult parts of the job at Brown, as prestigious as a school Brown is, whenever we were in recruiting battles with Harvard, Yale, Penn, Princeton, we lost that battle because we were Brown, and they were Harvard.
Yeah.
We had 20 kids that we brought up on official visits over my, 4 years there, and
Football
of
and
those
soccer.
kids that also visited Harvard, Yale, Penn, Princeton, we only got one of them, and they only committed to us because I think Princeton canceled his visit or something like that. So then I'm thinking, like, why? I go to St. George's, why can't I get high level talent basketball players, whether it's Division 1, 2, or 3. So I'm still doing the same thing, but it's just a little bit earlier.
So you got the invite to go down to St. George, and how soon did that turn into the coaching opportunity? Was it right away, or
That was my hook, right? Like,
Yeah.
So the hook was the head coach at St. George's was leaving St. George's because he didn't want to be at a boarding school anymore. The boarding aspect, you're surrogate parents for 300 kids, right? Like it's 24/7. We have class on Saturdays.
damn?
But he left to go to Moses Brown, so they were looking for a basketball coach, and then there were sort of there's other departments, like there's a finance office, there's a college counseling office, there's an admission office, at these boarding schools. So we ended up. I ended up taking a job in the admission office over like advancement or something else like that. And that was my hook though. Like the basketball piece was the hook.
Now, what year was this?
This was in 2016 when I first took the job.
So how did you compare the coaching experience to the player experience? Like, what was the biggest difference? Like, you have to be a leader as a coach, but being a point guard, you were a leader as a player. But like, what was the biggest challenge be going from player to coach?
I don't think there was a challenge. It was, I think,
Or adjustment?
a major adjustment is like when you're the younger guy, like you gravitate to the kids, right? And you're more buddy. There's more of a friendship. And then as you get older, and especially when you become a head coach, there's got to be that a harder line. So, when I was at Brown 7 years ago, I wasn't the disciplinarian, like I wasn't hanging out with the kids ever, but like, I'd chop it up with them.
Yes.
Did you do recruiting that back then at Brown?
That was 90% of the job.
Okay,
And
so
we
everybody recruits, and then,
Mhm.
but there's so much more you offer that people don't know as a coach. Yeah, the head coach is there, but his team, you have somebody recruiting. Like you said, being a parent, surrogate parent for 300 kids, your basketball team becomes your family, and you made a commitment to their parents that you're going to look out for them.
Right.
Not everybody comes from around the way, so their social life, their academic life, and their athletic life are all things that you played a major part in. So shaping people to be outstanding student athletes is a big part of that job.
Yeah, and that is the job, right? Like, and you want to win basketball games,
Right.
But the bigger picture is, I still have, I forgot Tom Brennan, I think, who's the head coach at Vermont, because I coached with TJ Sorrentine. You remember that 3 whapped against Syracuse?
Return the favor.
So I coached with TJ, and Brennan used to always say, I know I did my job if I get invited to your wedding. So that was like now, and I've been invited to a few weddings, I probably want to be invited to more, but like that's the job, is just impacting and changing, the trajectory of, especially at the high school level, some of these kids' lives, there's, now being where basketball is not my sole responsibility, I'm able to kind of touch these other, parts of the community just within New Bedford. I mean, I helped, Ethan Augusto, I recruited, Najon Forts, Leon Correa, Dominic Mello's a local kid, Jasmine Kennedy, Haskell's daughter. There's another young lady from New Bedford, Elise Long, Carla Acosta. We have 2 kids going to St. George's from New Bedford that play soccer, that go to Nativity Prep. So I'm trying to keep my hooks into the city as much as I can, but the coaching piece is a lot bigger than just winning basketball games.
And the academic standard's a lot higher at that school than it is at traditional high schools. So you have to sell them on that. Like, get your grades together.
Right.
Like, start talking to them while they're in high school, sophomore, junior year. You need to have your grades I can help you get in, but if you don't carry your weight, is the like eligibility factor a higher? Like, I know you only need like a C to play in high school, but you have to have like a C+ or a B.
No, there's no. It's an independent school, right? So we're not confined to any state standards in any way. So there's just, you fail, they kick you out. You know what I mean? Like,
I know they make you reclassify, so I always thought because
Yeah.
the pace was so much faster there that they had to give you time to catch up.
No. You don't have to reclassify.
I just see a lot of
It's-
people do it.
for the athletic piece. That's a big part of it, but just there's a lot of students that just come in as that aren't athletes and just go into their natural grade. But you know, the there's no sort of like minimum GPA you have to be eligible or anything like that.
All right. Well, you all listening to WMB1 straight to the point sports talk. Feel free to call in at 774-425-2631 and give us another call. We had two.
Yeah.
We want another one.
Numbers rolling across the screen in case you forget it. So, I mean, in the coaching area, like, what were some of the moments you were most proudest as a coach at St. George? Like, how have you seen that basketball program change in your experience there?
Well, prior, like it's, this is a Max Good quote, and he's my mentor. He always used to say, like, you can put the best jockey in the world on a donkey, and he'll never win the Kentucky Derby. You better get yourself some horses. And that's what
recruiting.
It's about recruiting, and we at St. George's, because of the institutional philosophy around our enrollment, we don't take postgraduates, we don't take seniors. Institutionally, we'll only enroll like 5 juniors. So like I had to build a program with freshmen and sophomores. So my first year, I had one recruit who he averaged like 35, but we were terrible. We won 3 games.
Was he your first big recruit?
Yeah, he was. He actually played this year at Milwaukee, Division I school, and he kind of he was a guy who chased his dream, like talking about that recruiting stuff. And he was too good for our program at the time, so he left. The following year, I brought 5 kids in, now all freshmen and sophomores. And those 5 kids, we went from 3 games. The next year, we won 6 games, but there were like 8 games that we lost by like 7 points or less. So like
because they were young,
and we were there. The following year, I brought in Tyler Kolek and Dominic Mello. So we went from 6 games to 16 games, and Tyler Kolek, who is the Big East Player of the Year this past year at Marquette, he had a bad ankle sprain and he missed like 8 games. So we won 16 and he didn't play 8. And then the following year, we were rolling. We were like 23-4, and we lost pretty much at the buzzer in the NEPSAC semifinal game. And then we've just, that year I brought in a kid, Taylor Bowen, who's now at he's
bigger kid,
Florida State, 6'9".
Yeah.
And it's now kind of self-sustaining. Like people are calling me about, hey, I got a kid, and I can.
You built the program to where people want to be there. They're asking you instead of you recruiting. That Kolek family special, because me and Brian had some experiences. Lucky Brian was a teammate. I had to play against him, so it always looked like you weren't trying on defense, because I swear that kid was slower than slow, but all he needed was a half a second. And Brian said he played him one-on-one every day in practice and never got on offense pretty much because and Brian was a standout defensive player. So I know how many problems I had playing against Brian. And he says, yo, this kid Kevin's different. I play against him every single day, and it's like he's just having fun out there, and the game just comes easy. You can't pigeonhole him into being a shooter, because then he drives on you or uses his body. So I know where Tyler got his genes from, but he just took it to a whole nother level.
He did, and that's one of my proudest moments, right? Like I think all of my guys' achievements, I got, guys at various schools who, I try to get out and watch, but I just, what he did on that national stage last year, that was special, because no one wanted him at that level. I tried to get local schools to get involved, and, that implicit bias, he's white, he's not that fast, he's not that athletic, but his feel and his IQ is at an elite.
It's like a Larry Bird feel. Like they're not going to be the most athletic, but often they'll be the best overall player on the court.
Like the Joker. That's what he is. Like,
Getting ready to mention that.
What? How big is he?
6'2". I mean, he's got a little bit of an NBA buzz right now. He's going back to college, but
now he's playing point, right?
He's been a point.
He is?
Yeah.
Oh, I always thought he was an off guy, because his scoring was
he's a pure point. Like his passing is his best attribute.
Wow. Very nice.
So, like, what's that status now? Like, anybody coming in now, or somebody at the program now that you're looking toward doing big things next year, or
So
some
I
new
got
faces?
we have so my returning guys Leon Career. I got a kid Barrett Lower who's a 2025. He's got an offer from Holy Cross, I think, Bryant, and he's got one more. His stock's on the rise. He's like a 6'6" athletic wing. I got another kid, Anthony Daly, who this is a mind blowing. Like, I think he's the best shooter in the country, and I'm not even.
That's the one that made the 21 threes
Yeah,
we
he
were
made
talking
21
about.
threes in a game last summer. He just shoots it at an elite level. He's back. I got another big kid, Dylan Villette, 2025. Little point guard, Alan Wright. Brought a new kid in, 6'8" kid from Waterbury, Connecticut. He went to
Wilbur Crow. I mean,
no,
not
Notre
Wilbur
Dame West Haven. It's
Okay.
a little long commute, but he's gonna be pretty special. So I got good talent actually, and a little plug for this. But True Bounce and Eric Brito and I are working on a prep school tournament for next February. Try to get some of that like elite prep school talent back to the high school gym with some, with some local teams playing too. So something we're working on.
Oh, that would be good.
Sounds
So,
good.
what
Real
are some of your other responsibilities there? Like, you're in admissions, or do you?
Yeah.
I thought you were doing something with like the athletics department as well.
No. So I'm in the admission office. And that's like, again, my job's not just basketball anymore.
Mhm.
And that's kind of enabled me to grow a little bit more. I have some responsibilities with assisting our dean of faculty with the recruitment of BIPOC faculty members. And kind of through that, we actually launched a program called Building Bridges last year. That's a partnership with 3 HBCUs, so Howard, Morehouse, and Spelman. We brought 12 kids from those schools, future educators, up to St. George's last fall. And we also partnered with Tabor and Milton, so they got to get a feel of what, representation matters, right? So, like, our student population is more diverse than our faculty. We want those things to be balanced. So through that program, happy, proud to say we got $1 million gift to work towards endowing the program. So
Wow.
now we're running a summer teaching and learning institute. So any young BIPOC educators out there who would like to be a part of the summer teaching and training institute, give me a ring, see what we can do.
So, are you talking about people that teach the core classes, or what else? Like, I don't know if they
Anything. I mean, whether it's
I don't know what else St. George offers, probably like history, science, and traditional stuff. But
the performing arts, visual arts.
okay, I
I
wasn't aware they had those programs.
Yeah, humanities.
Sociology, by any chance? Because I see a lot of people going into social work.
Yeah, we might have a sociology class, but there's nothing there's no
Like criminal
track for it.
justice or sociology. Yeah. I wish they got that involved in high school a little more. Learn your environment, the factors that go into making your environment good and bad, and how you can improve it. That goes a long way. Like, my daughter's in that field now. The first thing she said was, "I wish they offered these classes in high school, so you could get interested on that level." And then that might have changed my major going in. She started off in nursing. She had some sociology friends in criminal justice. She said, "I think I'm more interested in that." And she switched majors, and I was like, "You're crazy," but she runs a group home now, but that's an integral part. I wish that I'd see that in more schools, whether they're traditional high schools or, the prep schools. But I think that's something that should get introduced.
So she bought you a good Father's Day gift, right?
Yeah, she makes more than me now. So, so I was with her all day yesterday. But that the HBCU, that's something new, right? That just started with you.
Yeah, so we just launched last
It's
fall.
$1 million gift. I'm like, damn, that came kind of quick.
Yeah.
Somebody believed in you that quickly.
That's
I just got an extra $1 million lying around.
We're very excited about that. So that's sort of something I've been working on.
That's big, bro.
Is there anything else going on around that you're dabbling in besides basketball and
No, that's it. I mean,
not involved in nothing to do with like?
a little bit of real estate.
Oh, yeah.
That's it, man. Now I'm just working on this summer teaching and learning institute that'll take place August 2nd, kind of hovering around the Jazz Festival in Newport. So we'll have another group of HBCU students coming up.
So I was thinking, like, you don't have nothing in the way of basketball camps in the summer that you're involved in for either high school or
So last weekend so the NCAA is trying to give the high schools some more power in the recruitment process because the AAU coaches have been dominating it. So what they did in June, the only recruiting events that college coaches can go to are high school sanctioned events.
Wow.
So the MIAA might have one. I don't know if they do or don't, but the NEPSAC, the New England Prep School Athletic Conference or whatever that stands for, is we hosted an event last weekend at Babson, and there were 70 NEPSAC teams and like 250 college coaches. Big time event. And then this weekend, so it actually starts tomorrow at Avon Old Farms in Hartford, is the second week of that. So our team will play in that event again.
Hey, you just mentioned Babson. Don't you got a couple of players going in next year?
I do. Najon Forts will be at Babson next year.
And I thought I saw the kid from Wareham, Dom, commit to that.
No,
Nichols.
he's going to
Nichols. Oh, that's where Gibson's at, the older one.
Nichols.
Well, Najon, I remember his freshman year, I had him at Vote, and I was like, he was good in the classroom. I was like, man, by the time you get to be a senior, and then his mom was like, well, he won't be back. And I was like, Dwayne strikes. Because the team they had, if he was there as part of that team, they didn't have that height. But
yeah, and that's something that I'm often conflicted with. But I've had one of my players, quote unquote, poached from me, and I'm a fan of, whatever's best for that student. That's what I'm for. And if because Jordan,
I was just gonna mention that. I didn't know if you wanted to go. I was just say, hey, he coaches on the high school level.
I was like, Jordan, with the Sharon process, I was like, if Sharon wants to go, like, nothing against. I mean, I love New Bedford High. That's my alma mater, right? Like, but we just
got a bigger opportunity.
Like, we have more resources, right? Like, and not that New Bedford High School doesn't have the resources, but we just there's more at the independent school level. So like I'm like, it's a little, I'm conflicted, and I think I walk that path, especially with like New Bedford kids. I walk it delicately because.
So Dwayne's not. I mean, Jordan's not making you pay to get into New Bedford games no more. He's like, oh, there's another kid at Dartmouth you should go see. Well, don't come to New Bedford. Well, I was like, so what's on the horizon? Like, do you have future aspirations besides coaching, or maybe eventually going to a bigger level? Because you mentioned BC.
Yeah,
that would be the dream job. Or
I think my quality of life right now, it's invaluable, right? Like, I don't even think I used to tell people this all the time to kind of put it in perspective. Like Coach Cooley, when he was at Providence, he was an assistant when I was at BC. And not that he ever called me or ever would call me, but if he were to call me to go to Providence for what their assistants get paid, and you're talking probably between, from the first, second, and third assistant from like 175 to 325. Like,
yeah, we had to connect with Dave later.
But he's not at Providence anymore, and all them assistants got.
You'd have to go to Georgetown now.
But I'm saying, like, at this point, like, I don't.
It's crazy that the assistant money is that good, though. I didn't think the assistant. I thought maybe the lead assistant was getting paid like that.
No, this.
But I remember like when Dave was he was at UConn. Dave Lato, he got his opportunity at Northeastern, and they said he was too valuable of a recruiter. They recruited him back and like paid him his coaching salary because Marcus went to Northeastern to play for him, and then he left, and he was like, "Hey, I'm there 1 year." But UConn, Jim Calhoun, who coached Dave at Northeastern, believed he was that strong of a coach, and he couldn't. He had Kyle Hobbs on his bench, and he had Dave Lato on his bench, and he went back to assistant. But I was like, wow, the assistants in D1 are getting paid that nice. I know the head coaches are.
It's big money.
Matter of fact, Dan Hurley just got a nice contract today. Yeah, for 6 years, guaranteed. He didn't miss that part. He didn't know about the trade today, but he knew about Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley. Maybe I better watch this coaching thing a little more.
Dan Hurley, when he was at St. Benedict's and I was at Bryant. And then he got the job at Wagner, and we were in the same league. And I just, from afar, obviously, but like I'd scout him, I'd scout his teams, and I just watched what Wagner did, right? They went from being, it's in Staten Island, not a great basketball school, to he just built that program. I mean, they were beating high majors at Wagner. They beat Pitt 1 year. They, winning high-level games. And then, he leaves Wagner and he gets the URI job. And I swear, I knew this man was on a rampage. sure enough, he gets URI within an inch of what the Elite Eight or Final Four.
Yeah, something like that.
Like
He had some good
right
teams.
there.
Yeah.
But like the difference now is like you go to UConn and you got the additional resources you need. Now we got them, and then sure enough,
Yeah, you get national
None of
championships at that program, so
And
the
he's gonna
expectations
win
are
more.
huge.
he'll win more.
I was hoping the kid that left would have stayed, but I heard they had a nice recruiting class too. But the kid that really was it Jordan Hamilton? What was his name? That he went to the pros. He'll be Hawkins. Yeah, he was killing them last year. Like and he had another year left, but he had that great tournament run, so can't stop him from moving on to the next series.
Who did PC hire?
Kimmy English.
That's
yeah,
right.
he was at another. He was at the other school that he did. Was it James Madison? No,
Yeah, George Mason.
George Mason. Yeah.
So when Tyler Kolek was leaving George Mason, he just got the job. So he was trying to keep Tyler, but Tyler bounced to Marquette.
Marquette just a little bit bigger opportunity, higher profile. Would you be able to hang around for any parts of the basketball segment, or you got to be out here, or we're going to talk about?
I'm gonna run. I got to head back to Newport, but
what's Newport got that New Bedford? All right.
It's home. It's where I live now.
I know, but we saw the pictures
home,
by the water.
I don't want to say it's home, but it's where I live now.
It's where you reside.
Where I
Where you reside.
That's it. Get your mail.
Because home will still be on Honor Street.
That's right. It's a great house.
Yeah.
Great people.
I drive by it every day.
Loving it.
I drive by it every day. You know what I say? Safety's my bag.
I think
Inside
Nate Victor
joke.
might have been on me on that too.
Well, it
Yeah.
started with Corey first. It started with Corey first. Where the Martha's Vineyard and Boys go. Lunch
A
bag.
little lunch bag, and my pops gave it to us.
Yeah. It said safety's my bag.
We had a cooler though, right? Like I had a cooler. My stuff was cold.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
All right, you got to send us to commercial break, Charlie. Well, thank Dwayne for coming by today, sharing his stories about his experiences as both a player and a coach, and always emphasizing that academics is a major part of any athlete's career. You got to be both these days. You got to be a student athlete. Yeah, because that'll be long. It'll turn into a Cowboys quiz.
Yes, he coached there. Yes.
Oh, man. So I want to make sure we save time for the NBA trades and the NBA draft tonight. We got about a half hour left. Who we got
Paul Miranda.
I gotta get you guys next.
from
I
Texas.
just want to show how small this world really is. All right? I want to show how small this world is.
He's not a Cowboy fan.
Pena,
What's up? What's up?
you can hear me clear now?
Yes, we can.
All right. D. Pena, small world. I met you in Dallas, Texas, man. Paul Miranda with the Real Talk Nation down here.
Oh,
You
okay.
was recruiting, golly, I know you was recruiting Noah, and I'm trying to think who you was recruiting here in Dallas.
Yeah, that was my region. Dallas. I had Dallas, the Southeast Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. So I was in Dallas a lot. I like Dallas.
Nice.
Yeah, Noah Fernandez, that was my nephew, man. That's because I know you was on him a little bit. I don't know if he was at Brown during that time.
Yeah, I think I was just transitioning to St. George's, and I know at the time Columbia really wanted him, but yeah, I thought Noah's at Rutgers now. I thought he was that level from the beginning, but to each his own journey.
Okay. Man, and you never told me you was from New Bedford, though. That's the thing that just kills me right now, man. Because I'm from New Bedford, and that's why I was the man that was racking my brain, man, if I didn't ask you that right quick, man, before you left.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear from you.
Yep, same here. Steve.
Yes, sir.
Dallas Cowboys, baby.
Yeah, that's going to be next week's topic, but we got to get to the NBA draft and the NBA trades because, we only got a half hour left. So if you want to talk about that, man, we'll take some input on that.
Speaking of which, look at all my Dallas kids going to get drafted tonight, man. About at least 8 or 9 of them tonight, man.
First round potential?
Man, Anthony Black.
Yeah, I didn't know he was from. I don't know they're from Dallas. You're asking me like I know him.
Keontae George.
Yep.
Chasing Wallace is gonna drop. They said gonna drop. Chasing gonna drop from Kentucky, man. My dudes, man.
I wish him the best of luck tonight.
Man. So, I'm drinking a shot for everyone to get drafted, man.
So you're gonna have 2 shots. So you're gonna take 2 shots.
I'm gonna have. It's gonna be more than 2.
Well, we're gonna.
You know, hey. And D-Pina, he knows. Ask him about the DFW Metroplex, man. We the best in the country, baby.
Yeah, there's some hoopers out there. Send one to St. George's.
Got to be able to do something out there because the Cowboys suck.
All right, Paul.
You know, I still don't know how I'm still having conversation with guys that root for teams that have never won a Super Bowl.
All right, it was nice talking to you, brother.
Well, this is a basketball topic tonight. We'll get back on football another time.
All right, Paul. Hey,
All right, we got to pay some bills though. We got to go to commercials so the people that sponsor us, and tune into the NBA talk, man. We look forward to hearing your thoughts on that when we come back.
great call, man. Thank you.
All right. Y'all stay safe.
All right.
Take care.
We do a little commercial break and then come back with the NBA.
We gotta give Dwayne a good feel.
No, I just was trying to figure
we're-
out where we were headed now, so I don't.
We're
ask
going to
a
go to
question.
a commercial break, and then we'll
But before
come
that,
back to the draft and NBA talk. All right.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Dwayne, for joining us. We really appreciate your conversation, and come back, bro.
Yeah.
Come back.
Thanks for
Good
having
luck
me.
with everything at St. George and
Appreciate
in
you,
your
man.
personal life, man.
appreciate you.
All right, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good luck the rest of the year. You know.
WND1 Radio. The station with the best music. Best music.
I love music.
Best music. WND1 Radio.
We back?
We're back. We are back. Straight to the point on WMB1 Radio. What a guest, man. Good guest, man. I
Like to see the local team do well, man. He was raised in a good family. Oh, did I mention his family?
Who do we get? Who do we give credit for him being there? You,
Huh?
No.
What?
Derek?
Derek made the initial contact, and then we
Alright.
just followed through to make sure that he was going to be able to come in person, which we appreciate because he doesn't live here no more.
Hey,
You know?
took time out to come drive, come
So
talk
I
to you.
just let him know if he
Everybody on
couldn't
air?
make it, we still wanted him on in Zoom, but he had some things going on in Rhode Island, but he still found time to join us.
It's nice.
Great
Nice.
guest. Great guest.
Yep. But we got a lot of NBA news. 2 big topics: the recent NBA barrage of trades and how that's going to affect the NBA draft that happens in about a half hour. So
So what are we doing? Trades,
the
draft.
trades.
All right.
The first big one to drop was the Bradley Beal one.
Yeah, it's
How's that going to work out? I mean, we've seen super teams put together before. How's this different than what they did in Brooklyn?
I mean, we here in the station we were talking about, their roster, their
They need to fill
their
it in.
depth. And it's so true, those guys can go, but they can go so long,
And they have to stay healthy because
Yeah.
that's what didn't happen in Brooklyn when they had the big 3 over there. But if they're taking up so much of the salary that it's not leaving enough to like attract other players that can contribute. You might have a mid-level exception, but then you got to get veterans to play for the veteran minimum. So you got to be crafty in how you recruit people that just want to win. They've already made their money. Now they want to win. So because they've made their money, they might come and play. They're going to need a point guard.
Yeah, see, a lot of people say that because like the talks that I had with a few people is they got these three big guys, but they have no point guard. I don't know if you noticed, but now the way the NBA is, you don't need a point guard. Everybody brings the ball up.
I mean,
Yeah, but to facilitate the offense, because those are all scorers. They're not known as assist guys.
I think
You're right.
those.
So they'd have to sacrifice. They'd be less of a scorer if they turn into. I seen Devin Booker play point plenty of times this year. I mean, Paul was hurt,
Mhm.
and I think they still got he's bounced around a few times. Who was their point guard? They traded Shamet, but there's another point guard there. He had potential. Oh my God! But right now, I think they'd start him at point, and then they'd have a three-guard offense with him, Booker, and Bradley Beal. Kevin Durant can play the small or the four. They still got Ayton, but something tells me they're going to flip Ayton to get more pieces because he signed a pretty decent contract. It's making like $36 million. They can get two $18 million a year players that give them an extra guy for depth.
Actually, answer this because I don't know the answer. With Lopez,
In
potential
Milwaukee,
going there. Yeah,
a lot of teams want Brook Lopez. He's the consummate team player. Everybody he's played with, New Jersey, Milwaukee. Milwaukee doesn't want him to leave. Milwaukee's top priority is signing him. Chris Middleton just opted out.
He opted out. Yeah. I was about to say
So
that.
they're saying it's one of two reasons. One, he only got 1 year left. He's 32 years old. He'll be 33 next year. So he's looking for a little bit more longevity. So he might be willing to take less money if they add more years. So maybe they give him a 3 year, $75 million. He only gets $25 million a year, but that's 75 more million as opposed to this 1 year at 40. And then maybe nobody else is going to offer you that much money at that age. You'll be another year older next year. So he's opting out now, trying to add. That's what I'm hoping. But if we lose him, we better be getting somebody back. We need another running mate for the freak, you know? Him and
actually,
Holiday.
Milwaukee is first and only team.
No, he came over from the Knicks. He started his career with the Knicks, Middleton, and we
True.
got him in free agency from there. But I like him playing. I have concerns about his health too. So that $40 million a year is a little bit of a red flag. If he couldn't play back-to-back games last year, and we missed him in the playoffs the year we lost to Boston in 7 games, and everybody tried to tell me he didn't matter.
That was last year.
2 years. Well, this year that just passed. No,
But
the year before. So 2 playoffs ago, he got hurt in the first round of the playoffs. We made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Championships, but we had to play Boston without him. And Boston was at full strength, and we lost in 7 games. And I say that's a different series with Chris Middleton.
You know who can grab him? It's Miami.
Miami's the destination for a lot of places because depending on what happens tonight, Dame Lillard's made them his number one.
Wants to go there.
He wants to go there, Philly, and get this. He also said a dark horse in Milwaukee. If we lose Middleton, Dame Lillard is our number one target. But now we got Middleton and Holiday, so one of them would have to be the off guard. But I wouldn't. I want to sign Brook Lopez no matter what.
He's
a hot commodity right now.
Yeah, but he's older too. You know, Brook Lopez is like 35, 36. But,
he
rebounding,
fills that
block
need,
shots, he can pass.
and he doesn't mind being who he is. You know, he doesn't mind.
But there's
at all.
games he puts up 25 and 15, and you're playing on the same team with Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and the Freak. But he's just that total player. He's like a older version of Jokic. Like Jokic, you don't expect him to do anything spectacular. And then you look up in the stat sheet at the end of the game and be like,
25?
Yeah, 25 and 15 rebounds and 4 blocks. And he's getting older, but he's getting better with age. And I think because the spotlight is not on him anymore.
Should have put that.
But interesting fact, we mentioned Dame Lillard. He's already made it obvious that he'd like to consider Miami. Philly's hot after him. Who knows if Boston might throw their hat in the ring now that they've lost
They were talking
Smart.
about it. They were talking about
And
it.
Milwaukee definitely said that if Middleton opts out, they'd like to be in contention for Dame Lillard. But Dame Lillard going to Miami would be something special. And I guess a lot of it depends on what happens at that number 3 pick because he's made his stance and said, I don't want to be part of a rebuilding young team. I want to be able to win now. Last night, actually, Portland came out and said they want Brandon Miller, the kid from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But Charlotte looks like they're going to take him because they already got Ball, and why would they take 2 point guards? So if they take the big man, that means Scoot Henderson will be the next best player available. And Dame's like, I don't want to be part of a rebuilding. He wants them to trade that pick to get somebody like a Zion or another established veteran so they can win right now.
Why would you want Zion?
Well, I'm just saying somebody
He
of that
can't even-
nature.
He can't even stay on the court.
Yeah, but they talked about moving up from 13 to 3 and offering somebody like a Zion. The only problem with Zion is he has to stay on the court, but are you ready to give up on him this early? Whether you're New Orleans or whether you're Portland, I still think he needs another year to see if he can get it together. I don't care about the off-the-court stuff. But on the court, when he plays, he's the only guy that shoots 68% from the field. Like, there's so many games I see him 12 for 15. He
90
takes high percentage shots.
90% of his shots are dunks.
Yeah,
It's
or he
not a
just
bad thing.
goes over people.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. I'd love to.
When he's on the court, that's really. But New Orleans was talking about they really like Scoot Henderson. That's who they want. They know Victor's going number one. They really want Scoot Henderson, but they're afraid that if they don't make that trade to number 3, he's not going to be there. And Portland came out and said, if he's on the board, we're going to take him. That triggers Dame Lillard to say, I don't want to be part of a young team. I want to move on because their next best players are Anthony Simons and the kid that came over, Grant, from Detroit.
Yeah.
They're over there. But he doesn't have time at his age to be rebuilding. So he wants to go to a Philly, a Miami, a Boston, somebody of that nature. And now Milwaukee's throwing their hat in the
I
ring.
don't think he wants. I don't think he'll come to Boston.
No, but I'm just saying, a team of that nature that's ready to win now.
Right.
He wants to go somewhere like there. So I think the draft, the surprises start at pick 3. Because if they take Scoot Henderson, I think that signals the end of Damian Lillard. We just don't know where he's headed yet.
I think,
Nobody wants to hear that.
Well, Barry,
I'm just
Mags
kinda-
isn't on the show tonight, so that's going to be kind of hard.
Yeah.
But the Celtics also made another big move. So how do we feel about that? Like, they got rid of a favorite and Smart. They're bringing in Porzingis, which, if he stays healthy, that key word again, he gives them offense and defense and another big man who can score. But a lot of people are unhappy about Marcus Smart, but I thought he tried to infixate himself into being part of the big 3 instead of doing the things that a point guard does, run the team. He thought he was more valuable than he was. Like, it was the 2 J's and then him. He took a lot of big shots he shouldn't have taken.
He was taking shots before the big J.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
he
the
should have
other
been
thing
taken.
that's come out recently was he wasn't coachable. Not with Brett. He respected Ime when he was there, but Stevens and Mazzola,
yeah.
he waves them off. He does his own thing on the court. Like, they tell him, we want you to do this, and he'll just go in his own direction. So that's come out lately.
Well, and he's always been a part of any of the headlines, the controversy.
I mean, great
from
defensive player,
Wade.
great grit player, tough player.
Yeah.
But I don't like the fact that he tries to force himself into a big 3 role. He sees himself as a bigger piece than he is. And in all our conversations regarding the Celtics, I'm more of a Malcolm Brogdon fan because I feel like he runs the team for the right reasons, but he has to stay healthy.
They say he's hurt.
Yeah, that's why he couldn't go to the
trade-
Clippers.
the
They said
trade-
he didn't check out.
He's the reason why the trade didn't go through with the Clippers.
And that's why I think Boston's going to be at that number 25 pick. If they can't move up and draft somebody that can play right away, they're going to try to package that pick and get a veteran because I don't know who's going to be around. I mean, they moved up from 35 to 25, but I don't know who's going to be around at 25 because the top 3 point guards are pretty good. I think they'll all be gone by 25.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's going to be a starting quality caliber point guard that can come in, but they might need somebody to back up Brogdon if something goes down because I don't know if
White.
Pritchard is that guy and White's not a pure point guard.
They got to
But-
get rid of Pritchard, I think. I don't think they're going to keep him.
Well,
Mm.
I think he's even though he hasn't played,
He's-
that's his ceiling. I don't think that he's gonna.
I think Pritchard's more of a shooter than a point guard anyways.
Yeah, and where can he play other than a team like Houston or OKC, a young team like that? But I just think that he's at his ceiling, and what he got in Boston is what he's going to get everywhere else.
You're talking about Marcus Smart.
Pritchard.
Pritchard.
sorry.
Oh, Pritchard.
Pritchard.
All right. Yeah, he's reached the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and Marcus, I think that the sentimental reason was to keep him for one more year. But I think this playoff really
exposed.
hurt
They should have
Celtics
won
and the
2
Hawks.
years ago, but I thought
Yeah,
him
they
trying
did.
to be the guy taking the
Yeah.
and he had a lot of turnovers at the end. Him and Tatum were like turnover machines when they played Golden State and Brown.
I mean, I liked everything that Brogdon was doing throughout the year.
But,
Prior to
he's
his-
gonna be
and
healthy,
Now
but-
his injury.
I see them going after a point guard, whether by trade or by draft. But I think that's also a good move. Well, before we get to that, why do you think this move was made? Because I have a philosophy that I want to share with you guys. Jaylen Brown's in a Supermax contract year this year. They're going to come up with the money for him.
Mm-hmm.
And we know next year, Jason Tatum got it. Between those two, $603 million, two Supermax deals. They're not going to have enough money to pay everybody. Smart next year will make $19 million. So they cleared $19 million off the books, but then they bring in Porzingis, who's only there for this year. So they'll have $36 million coming off the books next year. That $36 million can go towards signing Brown, for next year, signing Tatum. But the Celtics got to come up with some money somehow without watering down the team and becoming what the Nets were last year or what Phoenix might be this year, where they got 3 studs, but then they have no more money to fill out the roster.
Yeah.
So they got rid of, which I was surprised, they got rid of Gallinari and Mike Muscala in that deal. That saved them another 10 to 12 million. That goes toward this year's
Gallinari,
money.
I was hoping that he stayed.
I wanted to see what he could do in Boston, but
and the only reason I don't know what's going on with Al, but I don't think he's going to stay.
I heard he's going to retire.
Yeah,
This year?
Possible.
that might have been the reason for the
That's not-
Porzingis
that's-
move.
I think that's the reason why they went and grabbed Porzingis, because I was going to
But
retire.
I
Which-
think Porzingis
which
is
he-
on a show and prove 1 year deal.
He just stay healthy.
Yeah,
If you don't stay healthy, it
because
was
you
a
know
worthless
he was
trade.
the only player in the league that had 100 blocks and 100 threes. So he brings you offense and defense.
He's 7'2".
Yeah,
He's pretty
But,
athletic. Just can't stay healthy.
that brings up another interesting thing because there's some
This-
unicorns at that position with Porzingis, the number 1 pick coming in tonight. And I know Derek and Brian's not here to laugh at me, but Chet Holmgren's in that same mode. But he didn't stay healthy. But I think they
Yeah,
have similar
yeah.
styles.
Yeah.
They're big men who people want them to be centers, and none of them are a center. They're small forwards,
Well,
but
that
they're
can shoot.
7'3", So everybody, but they can all handle the ball. They
Yeah.
can all shoot threes. They can all block shots. The difference is that I gave to Holmgren was he was more of a facilitator. He averaged a lot more assists. He was closer to Jokic in that sense, but they're all very frail too. So what are people's projections about Wembanyama today? Because he's built almost exactly the same as Chet Holmgren, and everybody says he's too light. They said the same thing about Kristaps Porzingis. He's too light. There's people in that mold. Kevin Durant, when he first came out of school, but they've over the years developed their bodies into NBA type bodies. I think they all have the talent.
But this kid that's coming in now, he's the stuff that he does with that ball is crazy.
Yeah, but now he's going to do it against the top athletes in the world, and he's only 19 years old.
Yeah, you're right.
Holmgren was only 19 years old when he came in.
But
I don't know how old Porzingis was.
He don't
but
have the same type of athletic ability that this kid has.
I think he does.
I don't know.
I'm willing to put it out there right now that if both of those guys stay healthy, Chet Holmgren stats will be better than Victor Wembanyama is next year.
What?
I'm serious as a heart attack. Because I really believe that Chet Holmgren was the best rookie last year, but we didn't get to see it because he got hurt. And him and Brian really doubted him. And I said, maybe they didn't see him play enough. I watched a lot of him in college.
Mhm.
He did some incredible things playing at Gonzaga, who played the best talent in the league. I think that the schedule Gonzaga played was probably better than Victor played in the French league. The French league is filled with people who got cut from the NBA that played at small Division I schools or didn't have the talent to go to the NBA. That's almost like a Division II schedule. So 7-5 playing against that, or 7-4, 7-3. But I think they're so similar.
You
But
see the way he handles the ball?
have you seen Chet Holmgren? He handles the ball like Chet Holmgren averages close to a triple double. He almost averages 8 assists a game as a 7'3" guy. So that's the advantage I say that the other two don't have. But it's just their skill set at 7'3" that I'm comparing.
Mhm.
All of them, they're so big. Everybody wants to force them into being a center. So they say, oh, they're too light. They're not trying to play center. They're big like a center would be, but they're more of a small forward. They can all shoot the ball from 3. They can all put the ball on the ground and handle. They can all drive to the basket. But Holmgren is a better passer, easily a better passer. But I want to see them three compared numbers to each other next year if they all stay healthy.
Who are they talking to? Man,
That's
someone take
that's
that
Paul
with that
because he
mic.
doesn't believe in Chet Holmgren.
The bottom one.
Yeah, that's Paul. That's his Facebook user.
I don't know, man. That's.
But next year
Well,
when we're sitting,
I think, I mean,
I know.
I like Chet. He's a ball player. He's definitely going to produce. And I mean, they're both going to produce. And where they play and what type of basketball they play, it's
well, Wemby and Chet will
wait
have
to see.
opportunity
Chet-
because they'll play right away.
Chet's
Yeah.
got to worry about staying healthy.
Porzingis got the two J's on his team, and he doesn't have to be the man. He can be more of a support player, but they're looking for Wemby and Chet to like be one of the top two players on the team. He sat out a year. Alexander developed crazy this year. His last 2 years, I think he made second team All Pro.
What is he? He's Oklahoma State, right? I mean,
Oklahoma City. And Chet didn't play
Yeah.
this year.
Which,
And they got a high draft pick.
Gilchrist?
He got
No,
but
I think
they got
Gilchrist.
2 draft picks, I think, they got a ton of draft picks. They
I mean,
got more
I
draft
think-
picks than anybody in the next 3 years. So they can add some more young talent. But they're in the draft lottery. So
So,
they can add some more talent. They get Chet back.
but Chet's not going to have the ball in his hands because that point guard's going to have the ball in his hands.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to have
He's
it.
gonna
but-
be that point guard's the number one option. He made
Yeah, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He's their best player.
Yeah.
But they just need Holmgren to be the number 2, number 3, and then whoever they draft this year. I'm just saying they'll have 3 viable young people to build a core around that are on rookie contracts. Now you can, if you're ready to win, you can bring in a veteran to try to lead those guys. But I think Alexander's already developed. That's all said and done.
Yeah.
But getting Holmgren and whoever they draft this year, and they have the kid that came over from Australia, what's the white dude's name from Australia? He's a point guard, but he's been playing off guard because of Alexander.
Can't remember.
Yeah, but
he-
he averages a lot of assists, and he's like 6'7" playing the point or off guard. But
I mean, I think
They got some-
OKC's definitely. They still have their picks. All the picks. They still have tons of picks
first
to
and
make
second
some
round.
other rounds. Some other moves. So, I don't know. I'm waiting to see both of them, and it's going to be pretty nice that that little area, OKC and San Antonio, becomes something.
Houston trying to
big,
build.
like
They got
before
some young,
Houston
nice
again.
players
Did
down
Pop
here.
leave? Pop still there?
Yeah. How long he'll be there, but that's why Victor's real happy about going there because he developed Tim Duncan,
I
David
don't think
Robinson.
you're going anywhere, right?
Well, he's
Why would
70
you?
years old. So that's the whole
can-
how long health-wise and
Yeah.
age-wise will he want to be there. So there's, he wants to play for Pop, even if he plays 1 or 2 years for Pop.
That's it.
Pop will develop him, and he'll be a superstar by the time Pop's done with him in 2 years. Now, that trade we were talking about with the Celtics, I just want to touch on something else. I think all 3 teams won in that trade. 'Cause remember, it was a 3-trade team, right?
Yeah.
So Marcus Smart going to Memphis. Couldn't ask for a better place. Because what do you think of first when you heard he was going to Memphis? Because I know what I thought about.
25-game suspension from that idiot.
Yeah.
Right. But also, what else can he bring to that idiot? How to learn to be a pro.
Yep.
If Memphis is smart, they make
Maybe.
them roommates, and you
Maybe.
go everywhere with this kid and show him how to be a professional and how to be mature and pass off your experience because he's going to bring grit and play hard. I don't question John Morant's ability on the court. He's got to learn maturity from Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart to me was the leader of the Celtics. He might have even been the captain last year, right? Yeah, but he's the one I saw like getting everybody together, gathering, getting in, not afraid to get in either Jay's face.
Had team meetings.
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
team
locker
meetings.
room and-
So he's going to bring that leadership to that young team. He's going to show Morant how to be a professional. But do you realize that Memphis is also going to have the last 2 defensive player of the years on the same team?
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson was a defensive player of the year. Marcus Smart's a defensive player of the year. Then they got one of the best offensive player of the year in John Morant when he comes back. But like Derek said, he'll start off filling that gap for 25 years. 25 games. Yeah, that'd be a long time, huh? And then when John Morant comes back, they'll probably pair them together.
Yeah, but do you think you're going to give Marcus Smart the reins for 25 games? We know how he is. We know how
I
he
think
is.
they move.
You give
one
him
of
the
them
reins
off
for
guard.
25 games, right? Now Morant comes in, who's the man. You think Marcus Smart's going to want to give off?
He didn't do it in Boston
That's
that
what I'm
much.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't want to give it to the 2 J's that were the
But
man.
I
You think
think
he's gonna?
I can't remember
give
the
it to-
coach's
to
name in
Morant?
Memphis right now. But I don't think they have like a strong overbearing type coach in Memphis. So it might be similar to Boston where he has trouble controlling a Marcus Smart.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That
But
could be bad.
I like that. I like Boston getting Porzingis because it gives them a piece they didn't have before. And it's addition by subtraction with Marcus Smart. He's a talented player, but I never liked the fact that he tried to force himself into a bigger role than he deserved. But him going to Memphis, maybe he gets a little bit bigger role, but that's Ja Morant's team. And the next best
Yeah.
player is Jaren Jackson.
Yeah.
You know? So they're gonna add another draft pick into that too.
And Bain and
well,
Bain
Bain stays.
Bain
The other
stayed.
guy left.
The other guy,
Yeah.
they got rid of. But Bain's
Brooks is gone.
Yeah.
Bain's a hell of an athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was. If you ask me, Bain was the number 2 all around.
More than Jaren Jackson?
All around.
He's a double and the defensive player of the year.
All around. Bain was the number.
He's
2.
definitely a good contributor.
Yeah.
But they have a core there. That's my whole point is they got a core there. And I don't know if they traded away their first round pick. I think, they gave that to Boston as part of that deal.
Yeah.
So they don't have a first
round pick this year and next year.
Boston got their first round pick this year, their second round pick next year. That's how Boston moved up to
Was it?
25.
I think it was 2.
And then their 35 went to who was the third team involved? To Washington.
Washington.
Went to Washington. So Washington made out because we haven't gotten into the Chris Paul thing yet, but I guess that'll be next. But they traded for Chris Paul. They got rid of Bradley Beal. I think they tore it down a year too late because this year's draft is the best in the last 10 years. And next year's draft doesn't have the talent that this one does as far as depth. There's players you can get in the 20s that are going to be significant contributors.
Mm-hmm.
But they got rid of Beal. They got rid of Porzingis. Kyle Kuzma opted out. So they're going to have to start all over now. They got Tyus Jones came over from Memphis in that trade.
Yeah.
And then the Chris Paul trade today where Chris Paul got traded to Phoenix for
He got traded to Golden State.
Oh, I'm sorry. He got to
Yeah.
to Golden State. You're right.
Poole.
For Jordan Poole. So now you got Jones and Poole as your young backcourt, and you got Chris Paul, a veteran, going to Golden State. So another one where I think, but the Wizards are young and they're going to be rebuilding and they're going to have a lot of draft picks, but they should have did this last year with all the talent that's out. They would have sucked this year. They would have got a top 5 pick. They're still in the lottery.
Yeah.
But the lottery wasn't good to them. I think they're like 5 or 6 or something. They needed to be like top 3 to make an impact this year. But there'll still be some talented people out there that they can add another good young piece to those two guys. Because Tyus Jones, to me, is grossly underrated. I was watching Jay Williams today talk about, he thinks he's going to be a surprise because he's a starting point guard in this league. Every time Memphis lost Ja Morant, who was the one that stepped up? They didn't lose a beat. They went on winning streaks.
Yeah.
Because he's more of a distributor and a defensive ball hawk. And, he has a different style than Morant.
His game's quiet.
But they always won when Ja Morant was out with injury.
They had a better record without Ja than they did with him.
So,
he was quiet.
Washington will give him a new place to start over. Jordan Poole needs to find himself. He played as well. He played himself into that big contract. But then last year, I don't know if it was the incident with Draymond Green.
Yeah, and then I was gonna.
But they dropped.
Mention something about that because Draymond holds out, and only because he's probably, I don't.
Well, he declined his player option.
Yeah, so
I think he's going to renegotiate for more years, less money.
He'll do it now because Poole's gone.
He had to play on eggshells last year because he had to prove that he wasn't.
He might and he might not because there's a lot of talk that he wants to play with LeBron.
Yep, and they were just in vacation together.
There's a lot of talk that he wants to play with LeBron
over in France. Because they're both represented by LeBron, Rich Paul Sports, whatever it's called. What's the name of LeBron's promotion company? But Draymond Green signed to them.
They probably let Reeves go.
Well, they'd have to.
Yeah.
And Reeves, I think, is going to command a lot of attention in trade talk. I don't think he's a free agent, but people like him and Hajimara or whatever, how you say his name, Rui.
Oh, from
they
Washington.
stepped up this year, and there's other teams that are like, hey, we wouldn't mind getting our hands on one of them too. So if a trade opportunity comes up, one of those two are going to get demanded in the trade. If they have to trade for Draymond Green, that's going to be tough because they don't have a lot of pieces to take off that roster. But he opted out. And if they can't re-sign him, he becomes a free agent. Now he can go sign for whatever. He might want to give the Lakers a deal to play with LeBron.
Yeah.
He might say, I'll take $20 million for 3 years
There's only so
because
many.
he's 34 years old too.
There's only so many more years left that LeBron has.
Yep.
So
So and with their relationship, he's going to want to play with them. But all those trades were very interesting to me because I think all those pieces moving can move. But what about Chris Paul going to Golden State? There's no Jordan Poole, so you got a three-headed show with him, Klay Thompson, and Curry. Do they play that three-guard offense, or does one of them come off the bench?
Chris Paul will definitely probably come off the bench, but
Unless Curry moves the off guard and Klay moves the small forward.
and you can do that because Klay can play the three.
Yeah. But then we have to see what happens with Draymond Green because then he becomes your power forward.
And
I don't know if they want a true center.
There'll be a lot.
They got Looney still.
Even with Looney, they're still real small with that lineup.
And then they got Wiggins.
What are you gonna do?
Wiggins is a starter. Wiggins
off the bench?
Wiggins was the small forward. He'd have to be the sixth man. Either him or Thompson.
So
But Thompson's
Wiggins-
career,
Yeah,
he's getting a little older. He might have to be the super six man now. That would be a great role for him to not have to
I
play
think
dominant.
His pride would be too big for that.
Well, then Wiggins would have to do it. I don't know who's older. I can't remember who's.
Wiggins is younger, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough decision.
I heard they're trying to move
Wiggins or
Kuminga
Thomas.
this year, so if they get anything back for Kuminga, maybe they get another piece that they can add that can contribute. Because I didn't like the way they used Kuminga, but maybe him and the other rookie from Arkansas, they were all first round picks and they were all highly heralded, but they didn't really contribute the last 2 years.
They were hurt a lot too.
Yeah, but I thought they'd contribute a little more, but there was a lot of interesting moves. I don't know if anything happened since we got to the show. If anybody wants to chime in and
I haven't heard anything.
let us know, because I guarantee, I have a feeling Dame Lillard's going to get moved tonight as soon as Portland picks. If they keep that pick and don't trade it for somebody else and get an established veteran, Dame Lillard's on his way to either Miami or Philadelphia or possibly Milwaukee, or another team might jump in the mix.
To get back at that with that Celtics trade, it's good, but all it tells me is that they're going to stay with that same 3-point philosophy, and they need more players.
Well, he can contribute to that, but do you know that he was the number one guy scoring closest to the basket?
Yeah.
So he does drive the ball to the basket, Porzingis. He just has the ability to shoot the three, but that's not all he does. He shot a high percentage because he was one of the most points in the paint. I think he was number one in the league, most points in the paint when he was healthy. He didn't play enough games to qualify for the whole season, but for the time he played, it was people like him, Zion, and I want to say Embiid, but Embiid wants to float out. Porzingis floats out. Zion stays right there in the middle. So a lot of high percentage shots. But Porzingis can put the ball on the ground. And if a 7'3" guy driving to the basket, it's hard to defend. Like 7'3", you're going over people already because of your height.
Yeah, the only bad thing about Porzingis is he can't stay healthy.
And that's why I said that.
But when he's healthy,
that's the big question. He has to stay healthy to contribute. But they're going to pair him with Robert Williams. That takes some of the burden off Robert Williams. He's not the only rim protector because you got a guy with 100 blocks coming in.
That starting five is going to be similar to what it was this year.
Do you sign Grant Williams?
No.
This year?
I mean,
that takes another guy out of the rotation. You already got rid of Gallinari, so that bench is getting kind of thin. Who steps in for Grant Williams now? There's no Smart.
They can get a player.
Grant Williams. There's no.
see what's out there.
Yeah, but I'm saying you'd either have to trade or you'd have to draft somebody tonight that can contribute.
I mean,
the two J's are there. Derek White's there.
Grant.
Robert Williams is not a dominant offensive player. He needs help. He needs a point guard to get. Brogdon is same thing as Porzingis. Got to stay healthy. So Porzingis and Brogdon, two of your main factors, have injury concerns.
That 25 pick tonight is definitely going to be traded, and it's going to be a player. You think it's going to be a guard. I think it's more of a forward, someone that can shoot. And because they need 3-point shooters, and they just don't.
Josh Giddey, yeah, that was the guy I was trying to think of at OKC.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it is what it is.
Anybody think any
I can't
surprises?
wait to see. Well, as far as what trades
or draft, are you thinking, like we mentioned the Dame Lillard thing? That's why I think the draft starts at number 3. I think the first 2 picks are already determined. Brandon Miller's going to go 2 because they already got Ball there. Why would you bring in another point guard to play with ball.
Yeah.
They're going to bring in a 6'9" shooter to give him another weapon.
That's the kid from Alabama.
Yeah. And whatever happened to Bridges that got in trouble? He sat out last year, but he's still on that team, right?
No, he's gone.
He's gone?
Yeah, they cut him.
Yeah.
And then-
Oh, they cut him? All right.
Yeah. So he could go.
But they
in
have
a lot
another
of
young
spots.
player over there. That
I mean, I'll take him over Grant Williams.
Who, Bridges?
Yeah.
Huh?
yeah, because he'd have to be on a discount now because he's
No, yeah, he's definitely-
talent-wise, he deserves money.
He's gonna be on
But he
the
had just signed for a lot of money, and then he did something stupid, and he's tarnished his ability to make good money. Just like I think John Morant will never get Supermax contract. That missing 25 games, he won't qualify for the league minimum to make the. He got suspended and was hurt so much this year he couldn't qualify for the All NBA team, so he lost out on Supermax ability there. And I think next year, missing that first 25, he can't miss a game. And we all know he gets hurt at some point. He takes a lot of risk. He's a high flyer, but I wouldn't be. Do you think there's anybody else besides Dame Lillard that might get traded tonight?
I think the Celtics make another trade.
Maybe Grant.
You know who I think
Grant
the
Williams with
Celtics.
that 25 pick for somebody good.
Yeah, you know who I think the Celtics are going to go after? There's somebody else, a local kid who just won a championship for Denver that opted out of his contract today.
Josh.
Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown.
There you go.
He would replace some of that grit that Smart offered. He's not as dominant, but he can play some defense.
Yeah.
But he knows his role on offense. He can score, but he scores where warranted, like on the fast break, getting hustle points. He
He's a
doesn't be
slasher.
like, oh, I need to
Yeah.
take the ball. But he opted out of his. He was only making like $6 million a year. So he was like, I need a raise. We just won a championship. I was in the rotation.
Yeah.
He's got to get 12 to 14 million. So if Denver doesn't pony up, and remember, they're already paying Jokic, Mac. Jamal Murray's coming up. And then they got Michael Porter, who they may or may not. I think Michael Porter already got a big contract. So
And,
they got a big three already.
I think Gordon too.
Gordon's contract is
It's
not
coming
max,
up.
but
He's
he's making like
coming up.
20 million.
Yeah.
He's coming up, though.
Yeah, but he's already making, but I don't know how much more they can. They're going to lose either Gordon or Brown, but Brown is this year. Gordon got like one more year before his contract's up.
I want to ask Dee a question. Derek, your team, when is it enough for them to just kind of give up on ball?
Oh, doctors pretty much already said he's probably not going to come back to
Right,
play
so-
ever. So,
Degenerative knee, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so that frees up a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
money, situation.
And
They can go out and get a top free
there's
agent.
a lot of talk of getting rid of Levine or
DeRozan.
DeRozan. I don't want to get rid of DeRozan. If we get rid of somebody, I'd rather it be Levine.
Mm-hmm.
Any
Because-
preference why?
He's always hurt. He's always
So it
hurt.
has nothing to do with his talent. 'Cause
No,
on the
he's,
court-
he's definitely talented. He does everything, but he's a guy that can't stay healthy. He's one of them high flyers. A lot of talk.
Yeah, he plays like John Morant. You got to expect those guys they take more chances. They're 6'4", 6'3". They're playing over the rim. There's a lot of chance they get undercut or they're not. They're kind of slight of build. They get knocked off,
all that
knocked
talk.
in the air.
All
Yeah.
that talk.
Yeah.
Explosion.
That's
Explosion.
what happened with Derrick Rose.
Soft tissue injuries.
That's what happened with Derrick Rose. His thing was his knees because of all that talk
He
that
generates.
power.
But Derrick
Yeah,
Rose
he-
used to jump off a vertical the best. Like
Yo,
that was the
Dude.
difference between the other guys. Derrick Rose's vertical was crazy. I didn't see him go off 1 foot nearly as much.
His speed, his everything.
But always attacking. There's going to be contact when you're going to the basket a lot.
And he didn't
That
shy
touch.
from it. He didn't shy from
He
it.
never took a hard shot. As fast as he was going,
He made everything look so
that touch
easy.
was so.
So I'm going to bring up another name because I was waiting to see if anybody was feeling the same way. I wouldn't be surprised if DeAndre Ayton got moved
yeah,
There's a lot of
I
talk.
agree.
There was a lot of
because
talk.
they could move him.
He was upset.
Yeah.
He
And
was upset.
they got rid of the coach. There was a problem 2 years ago with the coach, but it's because Ayton soured his attitude because he didn't get his contract the year before. He wanted to renegotiate earlier. They gave it to him after the season. Him and Monty Williams didn't get along. I don't think they could fix that situation good enough. So they chose to keep him and they got rid of Monty Williams. Somebody had to be the scapegoat. To me, Chris Paul was the scapegoat.
Does
But-
he fix Dallas's problem?
Huh?
Does he fix Dallas's problem?
Who?
Hayden.
Depends, because I don't know what Dallas would have to give up to get him because he's under contract. So they're gonna have to give up something substantial to give them. So who do you don't want to give up Kyrie or Luka?
No.
So who else you going to give up on that team to get them? You don't have high draft picks.
And Kyrie or Luka right now, I don't think they'd fit in with that team.
Yeah. I know Detroit wanted them in free agency, and maybe Chicago or somebody is a good candidate. But
Aiden, I would take.
Wait,
Yeah.
what's Aiden's relationship with Monty Williams?
he
They-
felt
they-
they clashed. They were arguing
They
during the
might-
playoffs
So he's
2
not
years
gonna
ago.
go to Detroit. Then.
Oh, that's right. That's
So he's
right.
not
Good
gonna go to
point.
Detroit.
I forgot that's the new coach in Detroit.
Yeah.
So, but Chicago
No,
or the
Detroit.
Knicks could
Yeah.
use them.
Detroit is going to be good in the next 2-3
Oh, yeah.
years.
Yeah.
It's not even this
Remember,
upcoming
they
year.
had Cade Cunningham out all year,
They had
and
a bunch of
Jordan
people,
Ivey
right.
was developing. But when they're both healthy, that's why I wish they would have kept Grant,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, but they got the kid Sadiq Bey from Villanova that's
Mhm.
playing very well.
Yeah.
So they got 3 young guys. But if they got somebody like Ayton who's still young, but my only issue with Ayton is know your limitations. You're not a dominant center where the offense has to go through you. Not when you're playing with Kevin Durant, Booker, Chris Paul. You might have been ahead of Chris Paul this year, but because of that strained relationship with the coach probably wasn't running plays for you.
Mhm.
And I thought he gave up in the playoffs.
Oh, he definitely did.
So I
definitely
can't play with somebody.
That's
I can play with
consistent
you
him.
guys all day as long as you play hard. We lose. But if you gave me everything you had, I can play with you. But when you're talented and
Quick.
you just mail it in, you're letting the rest of the team down because of your relationship with the coach. You got paid, bro. Why don't you have motivation? You're saying the biggest problem was you weren't making money. They invested in you, and now this year they got rid of the coach. So if they keep you, you better play your ass off. But last year, I could see during the regular season having lows, but when you were in the playoffs and they needed you the most, you
Yeah.
disappeared
If
Well,
I'm,
on offense and defense.
if I'm Kevin Durant or Devin Booker,
I don't know if I can play with
I
him.
don't want to play with him.
So
man.
I think he might move, and they get 2 players for his $36 million a year. They can get now. They added an extra guy in the
And
rotation
it builds
and
depth.
somebody who wants to be there.
Yeah, there's a
It builds
new
depth.
type of team in Phoenix. There's a
Look,
new
draft
owner. This is the time that he's probably going to get moved
You have to.
because you see how quick the owner moved on Durant. I mean, he may just say, "All right, it's time to make another move."
We gotta
But
let's wrap this up, fellas.
all right,
Yeah, we got a draft to get to.
all right, everyone, you are here on WNB1 Radio, and this is straight to the point sports talk. Steve Lopes, Derek Casaccio, Brian is here, but he's not on the air. I'm here to replace him for a little bit, and
Me and Derek suspended Brian
he
for missing last
suspended him.
week, so he had to serve a 1-game suspension.
Uh,
We're gonna get together tonight and talk about. He's gonna be here next week to talk about the draft results.
And he'll
If
get
he's happy with his Celtics,
he'll get fined.
because I was interested in his comment because that's his team.
Yeah.
So he would have added some more to how happy he is with that trade, if
It's
positive,
gonna-
negative.
next week it's going to come back. Subject.
Well,
will come
next
back
year I
up.
think there may or may
Next
not be
week.
a Grant Hill. There may or may not
Grant
be.
Hill. They're
I
definitely
mean,
not gonna be a Grant Hill.
no, Grant
Yeah.
Grant Williams.
Next week you're gonna revisit this
Yeah,
because
'cause-
all the
'cause they're gonna
all the
draft
Yeah,
moves
we're
and
gonna have to
everything.
see how all these young dudes fit in with their new teams, and I guarantee 2 or 3 more people are going to get traded tonight. Possibly Dame
What's next
Lillard,
week?
possibly
Hey.
DeAndre Ayton.
And next week, I believe the NBA Summer League Summer League
Oh, it
starts.
starts 2 weeks after the
Is it
draft
2 weeks
because they got to go in. They got to pass their physicals. They always wait till 4th of July weekend ends.
All right.
So it starts that week after 4th of July weekend. They need 10 days to practice with their team.
Yeah, I thought it was right away.
Yeah, it's
Very
just a
nice.
10-day turnaround. So, guys, appreciated, the insight you guys provided today. Good interview with Dwayne.
Yes, it was.
It's always nice to see the hometown kids doing well. It was an all basketball show tonight. I hope there's a little bit of football news, and there might be some boxing news. We're seeing some fights announced and then taken back, and then announced. And then I don't want to fight this one. I want to fight that one.
Just seen Canelo signed a 3-fight deal. I didn't say who he's fighting though.
Yeah, he's just worried about the money.
Right, of course.
3 fights, $150 million. Life's tough.
I don't know.
He's already had a deal like that. Now he's going to have another one.
Are
But
you-
Teofimo's trying to get that 3-fight, $100 million deal. He's not in that
He already-
atmosphere of Canelo.
He already said he retired. He's scared.
Yeah, he said he's retired to try to force people to say, well, we'll pay you to come back. You're a champion. We want.
Mhm.
He's not that box office to have people begging for him.
Well,
All right. Well, this is our show for the night. Like I said, you are listening to WNB1 Radio, and this is straight to the point Sports Talk, and we will see you next Thursday.
Thanks for tuning in.
And thanks for tuning in, as Stevie said.
Thanks,
All right.
Charlie, for filling in for Mr. Magnet.
That's it. We're going to talk.
Brian, good show. Good show, Brian.
Negotiate my contract.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Let's get ready to